Aloha Pumeana Kako, the February 28th, 2024 Neighborhood Board number 34 meeting is called to order. This regular meeting we have today. Welcome to our MakakiloKapoleiHonokai Hale Community Forum. My name is Anthony Makana and I serve as your board chair. We are holding a hybrid meeting with community members here at Kapolei Hale Conference Room A and B in person and those on WebEx. Order and decorum. If you wish to speak, please raise your in-person hand or your virtual hand online and wait for the presiding officer to call you. Please state your name for the record before speaking so that we can get your comments down and it makes the job easier for a neighborhood board assistant. If I miss any hands online, especially, please get the attention of Logan Hutchison via chat so that he can get my attention. Speakers have up to 3 minutes to comment on any item. And those giving reports this evening will be taking 10 minutes. And presentation materials have been circulated and they're in our cloud drive on the neighborhood board agendas on the NCO's website for the city. This is our community forum, so everyone is asked to engage with the spirit of aloha. Be free to vigorously debate agenda items. Remember to treat each other with respect, especially when you're passionately advocating. And let's honor each other by keeping to the allotted times for speaking so we all can get out and enjoy the rest of our evening. So are there any questions before we get started on procedures or anything at all? Seeing none, let's take roll call, please.
Bosler. Dudley.
Here.
Herrera.
Present.
Hale. Khan.
Here.
Lidstone.
Ill.
Singleton.
Here.
Tahala.
Ill.
Harris.
Yeah,
Chair, we do have quorum at this point with 8 of 9 members present.
thank you very much. Now let's move on to our city monthly reports, starting with Honolulu Fire Department. Are they joining us online?
So they actually just popped in and they got a call right before the start of the meeting. They said they would be back if time allowed, but they're not here at the moment.
No problem. Let's go on to Honolulu Police Department, unless they head to the same event.
No, we got lucky. Can you guys hear me okay?
Right on.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Chair, board members, members of the community. I'm Corporal Fagan with the Honolulu Police Department, District 8 Community Policing, and I have your stats for January. In January, we had 40 motor vehicle thefts, 12 in our area, 24 burglaries, 10 in our area, 160 thefts, 61 in our area, 43 unauthorized entries into a motor vehicle, 8 in our area. There's a total of 356 citations issued, a total of 6,589 calls for service, 2,043 in our area. The only thing I did want to mention, I'm sure somebody else will bring it up later on tonight. We do have the Prince Kuhio Day Parade happening in March. And then we are going to be participating in the, I believe that's the 16th. And then the 23rd is going to be the festival at the Kalanianaole Beach Park in the evening with a fireworks show, I believe, to end it. I'm sure someone will be talking about it. But we just want to just put it out to let people know that there is going to be traffic concerns on the 16th for the evening parade. Our command is currently working with DOT to figure out the routing and the closing of the lanes and everything else. I'm sure more information is that going to follow shortly. Other than that, I'm open for any comments, questions, or concerns.
Thank you for your report. Let's go to board members. Any questions or concerns for board recognizes Michaela Lindstone.
Aloha, Corporal Pagan. Just one question regarding Cranston Dukia, who was senselessly shot earlier this month. The 17-year-old who shot him, what would it take to convict him as an adult or to charge him as an adult?
To be honest, I believe he is going to be charged as an adult. I believe they just have to get it waived through family court. The fact that it's because of his age at 17 and the nature of the crime, and I believe the prosecutor's office has also been stating that for juvenile crimes, juveniles committing crimes using the firearm, I believe that they're pushing stronger to petition family courts to waive them to adult court and stuff like that. But again, that's something that lands up on the prosecutor's office. But I believe we have enough, and they're looking at pushing to have him waived from family court.
That's great. And sorry, one follow-up question. The firearm that he used, would that have been, can a 17-year-old purchase a firearm, or if it was purchased in an adult's name, would the adult be charged, and will the public be made aware of this information?
Again, that would fall on the prosecutor's office. The investigation is still going on, so I don't have that much information. When something like this happens, they actually lock the case to make sure that information is not leaked out and stuff like that. Legally, at 17, he wouldn't legally be able to purchase a gun. Legally, he wouldn't be able to carry or fire one in a public area other than a shooting range or an area like that, unless I believe they're in a hunting situation. Again, I'm not sure exactly what the laws require regarding the hunting, but legally, he wouldn't have been allowed to carry the gun outside of either the range or in a hunting situation. So in this case, if he had left the hunting range and he was legally allowed to do so on the hunting range, but he left that and committed a crime outside, then of course, he would be charged with a firearms offense as well.
Mahal.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from fellow board members? Seeing none, let's go to the community at large, starting in Hale.
Over there.
Okay, Aloha, please come up and say your name. Right there.
You had a question.
My name is Mara Hansen, and I live in Makakilo Heights. And my main concern here, obviously, is not as serious as what happened out on the far west side earlier. But we're having a major speeding issue in Makakilo, and it's been years, but it's gotten so much worse since the pandemic. It's like everybody got used to being the only car on the road, and they haven't figured out that other cars and other people are back again. I live on alongside Palahia Drive, and the speed limit there is 25, and people regularly are going past the end of my street along Palahia Drive at about 50 miles an hour, sometimes topping that, because we're right near a gulch, so it's downhill on either side, and they don't seem to want to use their brake. And I'm just wondering, what can we do to get Makakilo Drive and Palahia and any other streets on the hill surveyed for speeding, get more enforcement for speeding, because I'm tired of getting almost hit when I'm walking my dogs every day. That's my concern.
Thank you for your comment and your question. In regards to the speed survey, I don't believe they would do another one only because the speed limit is already 25. They normally do the speed surveys when they're looking at either increasing or decreasing the speed limit in the area. We have in the past, just recently, we removed one of our speed signs that was on Makakilo Drive. We can look to put it back for a while. However, we do use that throughout the district, so we try to rotate it with the other complaints that we have regarding speeding. What I would suggest is you talk to your representatives and look into possibly putting in some type of speed table to help mitigate the traffic and the speeding. I know some people are for them, some people are not. I honestly was not for them for the longest time. But seeing as how having the speed tables actually takes away from having an officer have to stay there and do speed enforcement, it allows the officer to go back out on the road. The other big thing, and I try to mention this to a lot of people, we do have situations like this, is even if we did put a police officer there, the people would slow down while the officer is there. Unfortunately, as soon as he leaves, the speeding picks up again. So having an officer there do speed enforcement on a regular basis is not really the answer. It does tend to get people's attention for a little while. But then again, as soon as the officer leaves, everything goes back. So I would actually talk to your representatives, talk to DOT about the possibility of putting up speed tables throughout Makakilo Drive, only because it is a downhill raceway, basically.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or concerns from board members or the community at large? Chair recognizes board member.
Yeah, I wanted to thank you guys for stepping up some of the patrols in the park. I see there's lights on over by the skate park where they were spray painted black before. And I've talked to some of the NGOs and outreach workers that go out to some of the people that are signed up on Quest to get them to use clinics instead of the emergency room. And they're coming back to me and telling me that they're making contact with a lot more officers in the park. I know there's still problems going on out there, but at least they're out there and some of the people are kind of moving out, as it were. So thanks for that.
Thank you. Yeah, we are trying to push. We do have a new outreach community that's actually working out there, Kealoha West Oahu, who actually had the Waianae Coast and Nanakuli Coast. They're actually, their contract is moved over to Kapolei, all the way over to Waipahu. So they're very active. They go out there when we do our cleanups and stuff like that. So we're hoping to start making a little bit more of a difference with the people in the parks and stuff like that. So thank you.
Chair recognizes board member Moon. Hale.
Officer Pagan, thank you for a thorough report. Getting back to the concern up in Makakilo, can we use that sensor flashing speed signs that when people pass a certain location, that's the sign to illuminate their speed, if nothing else?
We had
Yeah,
one by
that's
the fire department.
that's a speed sign that we have. It's a speed indicator sign, if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, and move it at will throughout our say Makakilo, just to start, where the high speed spots are, within a district, and move the sign, say every, I don't know, hour and a half, between 0500 and maybe 0800 in the morning. Just a thought.
Yeah, moving it is a little more difficult than moving it just every hour. We normally try to put it up in the higher areas and leave it there for a couple of days to get people's attention. Some people do say that just having it on the road itself makes people aware of their speed, and the idea is hopefully they'll slow down. But like I say, unfortunately, we only have one sign that we have within the district, and we get a lot of requests from a lot of communities within the district, from Ewa to Waianae, that we currently move it from place to place for a couple of days at a time, trying to hit every area to just kind of remind people. So we will look to see where we can put it up and get it up from where it is now. I believe it's in Waianae, and we'll see about putting it back up on Makakilo for a while.
Okay, thank you. Chair recognizes member Mitch.
Yeah, back when I was a young officer, I used to be the guy that towed that radar trailer around and set it up. Does the one that you folks have the computer on board that does a traffic count and then also records the speed of each car that goes by, or is it just a radar?
No, ours is just a radar. I think that DOT one with the little, that puts the rubber hoses across the road, that has the trigger and the monitoring, there's a little more fancy than ours. Ours is just an indicator.
Yeah, because I find that was helpful back in the day when we get citizen complaints in certain neighborhoods. And it turned out it'd be like one person speeding through the neighborhood, and we'd do a traffic count and we'd be able to tell what hours the heaviest traffic was, how fast they were going, and how much traffic there was. And it might be something that we try to get some grant money to equip the Honolulu Police Department with those types of radar trailers to make them most effective, because then that also gives you guys data you need without having to have somebody monitoring traffic.
Yeah, again, that might be something that DOT might be able to help us with. If we were to get something like that, the great thing would be if we could get a camera and get actually pictures. But then we're dealing a whole nother issue with the courts and allowing us to prosecute based on those pictures. So But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the more money you can throw at us, the more likely we are to get what we need and get it where you want it. So thank you for that.
All right.
Thank you, Member Ferrero. Any other questions from the community or the board members? Okay, hearing none, thank you very much for the report. Appreciate the continued service for our community.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, let's go to the Board of Water Supply and see if they're with us online tonight. Okay, let's move then on to Mayor Rick Blangiardi's representative. Is the Deputy Director with us this evening?
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Awesome, we can hear you.
Great. Hi, Keith Suzuka, Deputy Director for the Department of Land Management. Good evening, everyone. I have two announcements, and one I actually gave a few weeks ago. It's my pet project, the Honolulu Zoo. I just wanted to encourage everybody to vote for the Honolulu Zoo. It's been nominated and well, it's been noted as one of the top 10 zoos in the nation by USA Today. And I've been voting every morning. It's very easy to vote. They stopped telling us where we are in the rankings a couple of days ago because it's coming towards the end. But last I saw, the Honolulu Zoo amongst the 10 zoos was number 4. If you have the time, about 30 seconds every morning, if you could vote, that'd be wonderful. Thank you very much. The other announcement that I have is with respect to the bus service. There's a few modifications, but the one that sort of affects your area is Route 41 Kapolei Eva Beach, and the morning school day only short trip from Kapolei Transit Center to Kapolei High School at 7:15 a.m. has been discontinued. A 7:20 a.m. trip will be added for the Eva Beach to Kapolei segment. Other than that, again, my homework, actually the first homework I reported on, but it seems like there might be a little bit more information available. So I'll go ahead and read the report from DDC anyway. And it relates to the haiku stairs. And basically, the issue was there was some concern about Kualoa Ranch sort of receiving the stairs from the once it's dismantled. And the DDC response is as follows. Like I said, it's pretty much the same, but I think there might be some new information. The city does not have any plan to transfer the haiku stairs to Kualoa Ranch. As part of this, the city's contract with the contractor, they are required to have a plan for recycling or reuse of the steel stair modules they remove. The contractor will be determining the final disposition of the material as per the contract. Regarding the cost, Nakoa Companies was awarded a contract of 2.45 million to remove the stairs, not 4 million. The next item, actually, I don't remember this from our meeting a couple of weeks ago, but apparently it was, or I guess it may have been asked during the HPD segment, but in any event, the question was repeated instances of nails on the road. Resident Glenn Kaeo Kaili Ava raised a concern about nails found on the street in front of Makalani Elementary School to Panana Street plus Velo Street intersection to Panana Street plus Makakilo Drive intersection. This has been a recurring issue for years in the area, with numerous residents filing reports after having their tires damaged. What can be done to address this issue? HPD's report back is that District 8, Eva Kapolei Waianae officers made checks of the area of Banana Street and Velo Street. They did not find any active construction going on or screws or nails in the roadway. However, there are hundreds of vehicles that access these roads daily. It is a possibility that there are construction workers who live in the area and while traversing through, nails, screws fall out of the beds of their trucks. Officer C. Kelly responded to Glenn Kailiava's 911 call regarding this matter. Mr. Kailiava insisted that someone is intentionally putting screws in the same area of the roadway. He was informed that without witnesses or surveillance, it cannot be determined that the screws were intentionally placed there. The incident was documented as miscellaneous public report. And the last item is from Board Member Vice Chair Dudley, and he raised a concern about the bumps in the road starting at Makakilo Drive to Palailai Street and going up and down Makakilo Drive. And DDC's response is that the Department of Facility Maintenance investigated the bumps on Makakilo Drive raised by Mr. Dudley and will schedule work to address the issue. The bumps are believed to have been caused by tree roots. That's my report. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Deputy Director, for the report on behalf of the mayor. Are there any questions from board members? Chair recognizes Commissioner Ferreira.
Yeah, the issue of the screws on the ground, I took out 5 different screws and pieces of metal from my motorcycle tire. I commute to the Capitol every day from Makakilo, and this has been an ongoing problem. And one of the things that I've noticed is that these screws have to be from professionals because of the heads on them are star bits and not the regular Phillips head that you'd use, like let's say if you're doing your own drywall. So these things are coming from some sort of contractor who's making sure they get on the ground and get into tires. When it's on the shoulders of the freeways and things like that, motorcycle officers are getting them in their tires, but they've got sealants and they get free tires where the rest of us don't. One of the other things I had a resident ask me about the zoo was whether or not it's accredited again. Is there an accreditation or is that still pending?
You know, I may be wrong, but I vaguely recall that the accreditation is coming up. There is an accreditation process, and I believe that the zoo recently, when I was on the board Zoological Society, the Zoological Society, it was there were times when it was not accredited, but I believe that in recent years it is accredited, and I do not believe they will have any problem being accredited again, but it's coming up soon.
Now, is the public budget for that, from what I understood a couple of years ago, is about $8 million in taxpayer money to keep it open every year? Is that still the case, or has that gone up, or?
I'm going to have to check. I'm sorry, I do not know the answer to that.
Okay, well, the reason why is that their rationale was that we have 4K television now, and you can go on and see animals in their native habitat, and so you're going to have an opposition here and there from people who believe that keeping animals
Right.
up like that isn't a. So that was just something that I was asked to present, and I hadn't even really thought about it much myself. I used to like going to the zoo when I was a kid and watching the monkeys and things like that. But I also watch them on TV too. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So just to clarify, is the only thing that I should check on is the budget, the city's budget for the zoo at this point, or is there anything else you would like for me to get back to you on?
Yeah, the budget and what status the accreditation is.
Okay, will do.
Sure.
Sure.
Thank you, Craig.
Are there any further questions from board members? From the community at large, any questions for or comments for the mayor's office? Seeing none, thank you very much. Appreciate the thorough report and the good news that you're gonna get some people out there to check out the routes.
It took them a while, but they did figure it out finally. I'm really glad. Thank you very much.
Okay, excellent. With that, I do see Honolulu's finest fire department members are back with us. So why don't you guys come on down for your reports?
Right here.
Yep, okay, perfect.
Hi, good evening. Paul Kim, Captain, Engine 35, Makakilo, Second Platoon. I apologize for our early departure. Unfortunately, there's no new stats to report this one because the way the January meeting was postponed, the captain who came to this month's earlier meeting, he already read the current stats. So until the beginning of March, there's not going to be any new stats released. So other than that, I would just like to open it up to any questions from the board or from the community.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here. Any questions or follow-up from fellow board members? Any questions, concerns, or mana'o from the community at large for the fire department? See none? Thank you for your service and thank you for a quick rescue you guys did.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Now let's go to Councilmember Andrea Tupola or her representative. If they're online.
I thought I saw her.
Oh,
She's online.
good. Awesome.
Hi, Chair. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, sound great.
Thank you so much. First off, Chair, it's good to see you. Missed you guys last month, but grateful that we're coming back together again. Michaela, thank you so much for your questions in regards to Cranston Pia. I send my condolences to their family. It's truly an unfortunate situation, and some of the questions you asked were ones that I was wondering, and so there is still more to be developed in that situation. My report will be short. There is a follow-up from Keone Dudley who asked about when will D9 start, which indefinitely will be helping Kapolei as well to have a separate Waianae police district. And that can only happen if we get more officers. And so I won't take away any of the steam from HPD, but there is going to be signing bonuses starting in this next academy, which will definitely increase the amount of people interested in the department. And the department will share more about that. It was done by the mayor, by HPD HR, by the chiefs, as well as the union for HPD. So personally, I feel like that's something very good for us because on the west side, we are definitely short. So we needed an incentive program to make sure that we can get more officers. If we ever get to the right threshold, then they will be able to separate out and possibly talk about a District 9. The second thing that I wanted to share was that I spoke at the Hawaiian Homes Commission meeting last Wednesday, and the topic was about game rooms. And right now they are trying to break down a game room that is in one of the homesteads in Kapolei. I did write a letter to your board asking if you would write or take a vote in support of Bill 57 and 58. Those two bills specifically help with, one, creating gambling into a nuisance so that police can address some of these issues that definitely affect all the houses around and the neighbors. And Bill 58 allows for HPD to share information with DPP so that they can actually get to the landowners who really are the ones that are the ones renting out and allowing for these operations to happen. My third point that I wanted to just announce is today, we had the very first reading for Ocean Safety Division Department. I introduced Reso 2450, which is asking or suggesting that we put on the ballot to make a new division or a new department for ocean safety. We just got the first new lifeguard tower in 11 years, and we got it right next to Colina at Kahe's. That was a very needed area because of drownings that had happened, and technically it's the 96707, just saying it's kind of in the Kapolei area, and so that was a huge thing for us. And Ocean Safety got 17 new positions, they were able to fill it. So we are suggesting that they come out from under EMS, that EMS be their own department and Ocean Safety be their own department. So I wanted to ask for the board support in that and just let the community members know that it passed first reading today. It's going to have to go through 3 readings because this is a charter amendment, meaning that if it passes, it will go on the ballot and then the public will vote whether or not they agree that Ocean Safety should be its own department. Lastly, this is not an item, but it is something that board member Ferrera and myself were working on. I did do a site visit up to the Gray Specific property. I took it from the north-south road and went all the way up to Puelonani Street, which is right parallel to Makakilo Drive. Guys, it's 5 minutes and it's a nicely paved road. I did talk to Gray Specific if they would be willing to at least create emergency access until we can have further discussions about whether or not the city could use that road as a secondary access. I have no update, so this is not at the point of any type of solid discussion, but it is a viable route. And Gray Specific is willing to work with the city on this. So I will be pursuing next steps, which is to bring the mayor out, bring emergency services and talk about what an MOU would look like. So again, I don't have any further details. I don't ask me questions because I still have to bring the city up there, but just driving up there, taking 5 minutes to go up a very nice road and see how easy it was, really gave me hope that there could be another solution for a secondary access route, which we really desperately need for Makakilo, and maybe in a way that's actually much more economical. So I'll stop and I'll open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member, for your report and bringing those 3 items to our attention. Is there any questions from fellow board members? Chair recognizes Member McFerra.
Hi, Andrea. I really appreciate all the hard work you're doing and trying to find some sort of a solution for us. I want to work a little closer with you to maybe see about us getting some funding, maybe through the city council, so that we can get a project manager in place, maybe with DTS, because you opened my eyes very greatly when I was like turning over stones, trying to find a project manager at RM Towel. No, there's no project manager. We're just supposed to design it. And you know where I work, and we're all project managers, and there's no project without a project manager. And so when you told me that, I was kind of like, okay, no, there's got to be. So let me go back over here. So I go over to DTS. Nope, no project manager. And you said because it hadn't been funded. So I'd like to, we'll talk offline about the possibility of maybe finding some funding, because to move this forward, we're going to have somebody who's a project manager to answer to us and to have some sort of, you know, reportability or whatever we call it, accountability to move this forward, because otherwise it's just spinning tires in the mud, and they're hoping that eventually it dies, and the car idling is full of gas and eventually runs out of gas and doesn't go anywhere. And I feel like that's kind of where it's gone. I'll have more when I do my report, but I really appreciate what you're doing, because I know how many people you have to represent even on the west side, and they've got their own issues with accessibility. So I appreciate your time and all your effort.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments for the councilwoman from fellow board members? Any questions, comments from the community at large?
Patrick Watson online.
Okay, Chair recognizes community member Patrick Watson.
Aloha, can you hear me?
Hello,
Hi.
Patrick.
Oh, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councilmember Tupola, for your hard work. And yeah, I'm very excited to hear you were able to take that drive up that road for Grace Pacific, like we had talked about earlier. You know, when I spoke to the community member that lived right there at the end of that cul-de-sac, he said, I've driven it a bunch of times and it's super safe. And it brings me back to that comment that Director Morton made at your town hall meeting about he was told that it was not safe, it was too steep for people to drive. So maybe he would be another good one to bring along on that, you know, that field trip, so to speak. So that's just one of my comments. And the other one was, I know that you do the that effort to restore, reconnect, and revive on the Leeward Coast. And what kind of feedback are you getting from them, like based on your last visits out to that area in terms of getting homeless people sheltered, you know, like, and spilling over to Kapolei, because we see a lot of them in the regional park, yeah?
Yeah, so first off, thank you, community member Watson. I do agree that I should take DTS up there. And I think, you know, to board member Ferrera's comment, I think if they saw it with their own eyes, they would see. I mean, I was up there with the property owner driving it and he said, look how nice this road is. I said, I didn't even know that it was back here, that it goes straight up to the street where the houses are. So I will bring them To your second question, Restore Reconnect Revive, I hold 4 times a week. I just was at it today at 5 o'clock in Nanakuri. And I would say for me, it's just a more comprehensive way of approaching homelessness because we're approaching it from the sense that we have to restore beach parks and public areas to the public. So we can't leave that out because that is a big component of why people are frustrated with homelessness, right? They want safe public spaces. The second thing is when we're reconnecting people, we're not just using providers. And I thank Corporal Pagan for mentioning that Calico West is now the new provider for Kapolei. But in addition to what the providers do, such as Calico West, we incorporate community court, we incorporate welfare, we incorporate helping them with their mental health services as well as their PCP. So I'm trying to put all the pieces together because there's many other things aside from what housing and providers can do that individuals need to become whole. And so we've had a lot of success to date. We've housed 39 people. Right now in my program, like today, we had about 16 people come. We have hot meals and we go around and we get stuff done. We were able to pop out 6 birth certificates, help 9 people get jobs. So there's a lot of different things that are happening. I'd love to open it up again in Kapolei, but we just really need to find a good community partner that can help us to keep it going because we hold it at churches or nonprofits, and they're kind of our main conduit to be able to execute this as there is no city funding for this program.
Well, thank you for all your hard work. And I would really like to get you together with my son, HPD officer, regarding the game rooms, because he has a lot of really good work and ideas, and he spent a lot of time. So I'd like to set that up with you, please.
Yeah, well, Bill 57 and 58 we made with your son and with others that help out with narco vice and those who work with game rooms. So I would love for this board to take a position on it because his son works in a district where they've implemented what we're trying to put into law and it works. We need to get towards the landowners. We need to shut these operations down because it's bringing illegal guns, trafficking, drugs, all kinds of shootings that happen surrounding game rooms because of the quantity of money and the type of violence that happens in there. So thank you to your son for his service.
All right, mahalo. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other community questions or concerns? Okay, thank you. So, Councilman, the chair only wishes to understand what's the timing necessary for us to deliberate and provide a response on our support for Bill 57 and 58? Is that something that we need to do this evening, or can we do it on next month?
You can do it next month, no problem. I would really like for the board to read it first. We have already gone through first reading. And if you need more of an explanation, I will email you guys over the 1-pager so that you can understand it a little bit better. But I do believe the Hawaiian Homes Commission meeting was recorded, and Hawaiian Homes did a very extensive presentation with HPD on the game rooms. If you guys really want to know more about how we're enforcing it on Homestead, how we're doing it in community, I would watch that presentation. It was very thorough.
Excellent. Thank you for letting us know about the timing. We have discussed our board about the issues of game rooms, particularly with fellow neighborhood boards that are also actually trying to support this effort. So we just wanted to make sure we were doing our part. Okay. With that, any final words for us?
No, thank you so much, Chair. Have a great night.
Okay, mahalo. Now let's move on to the OMPO report by Uncle Frank Canario.
Yes, my previous report to NB number 34 covered the February meeting of the Citizen Advisory Committee with its proceedings reported to the Policy Board's February 27th meeting by OMPO Executive Director Mark Garrity. That board, which is the only decision-making body in OMPO, approved revision 17 to the federal fiscal years 22 to 25 Transportation Improvement Program, the TIP. 2 written testimonies, the only ones provided by John Shockley and me, opposed the revision because it did not include the Makakilo Drive extension. The TIP can be revised at any time. For the extension to be completed, the final design and construction funding for the project must be included in that document. Through separate correspondence to the OMPO chair, Representative Keela, I requested a briefing to this board on the drive's final design from the contractor, RM Towell. As long as the Department of Transportation Services can avoid design completion, it can keep the extension out of the tip. To avoid its inclusion, DTS will swivel from the need for a new environmental assessment to having limited funds to cultural or historical issues. On the latter, one has to wonder how many other projects in the area have proceeded without such due diligence, such as the Grace Pacific Quarry, Coalina, and Ho'opili. I hope that our area legislatures will direct DTS to show a final design very soon. Mahalo.
Thank you for the report and for you submitting testimony regarding the reestablishment of Makakilo Drive Extension on the tip or the Transportation Improvement Program. Are there any questions for Uncle Frank on the report? Any questions from the board or the community? Seeing none, I wish to ask Uncle Frank, given the testimony came up in the matter that we didn't have a board meeting to authorize board testimony or to inform us, would it be appropriate for our board to actually take a position that we would like the Makakilo Drive extension to be replaced on the tip?
I see no reason why not, but I might mention to you that in the past, there have been at least 2, possibly 3 resolutions from this board concerning the drive, even letters from the Palihua Community Association, but nothing gets done till it gets put in the tip.
Right. Yes, I do know that we have resolutions on file calling for the Makakilo Drive extension. I'm just querying whether or not that is sufficient to authorize you or myself to actually write a testimony on behalf of our board and our community.
I would just suggest that we try to get somebody to come out here and give us a briefing on the final design. That was funded at the tune of $6 million plus years ago, and they're sitting on it. If we can get somebody from Towel, if somebody still exists that is working on that design to come out here, it would be a start. Because once they have the final design complete, they have to start addressing construction.
Okay. Thank you for your advice. Chair recognizes Transportation Chair Uncle Mick Ferrara.
Yeah, so what we talked about before, I think for us to be able to move this forward, I'm going to make requests that Roger Morton and DTS provides a project manager for this.
Okay.
And we need to have somebody who is kind of the person we go to. That if there's nobody pushing this project, it's not going to go anywhere. And I had enough of a problem with Wes Verstacky before Roger Morton, and it seems to be the thing over there, DTS, that this project isn't going to go anywhere, so don't do anything with it. And we've been pushed in circles. So I'm thinking if we hold Morton's feet to the fire, we ask for a project manager, we get funding from the city council to fund the project manager, then we have somebody who's accountable for this project, and we can then start moving forward. Because right about now, with the money that's out there that's available, it's going to all these frivolous projects that have seemed to have jumped in line ahead of us, pedestrian bridges in Waikiki and Alawai. And this has been sitting, it's been funded twice. So because there's no project manager, because there's nobody in charge of it, we need to put somebody in charge of it. And if Roger Morton's not willing to do that, then we need to go back to the mayor and say we need somebody else running DTS. Because I saw the news and saw the interview with him saying it's going to cost $200 million to build 4,000 linear feet of roadway, which is about $50,000 a linear foot. If there's already something that's built out there that Grace Pacific is willing to set aside to the state or to the city and county for that type of use, I think that is probably where we should go. But there needs to be somebody who's driving this. I work in a department where we're all project managers and we're working on things that, you know, everything runs through us. So if I run into they're saying, oh, well, there's cultural, Waiholi Ditch is, Waiholi Ditch is one of many ditches running throughout the islands. And over on the deal on our side, we've dealt with it before. We've accommodated going over them, going around them. Walmart downtown is built on top of an old iwi burial ground, and they were able to work with that. And the rail system has a system in place for dealing with cultural artifacts. So that argument doesn't hold any water. So in listening to Roger Morton, I don't think that he is really in our corner as it is. And I'm going to really start pushing hard on getting somebody in place that is going to make this thing go, because we're just sitting here, feeding off the crumbs that they push off the side of the table to push us and kick the can down the road. And I know better than that now. So that's kind of where it's at. And that's going to be my next thing. And it's going to be, we've got somebody that comes here from state transportation, the highways division. We need somebody from DTS. And if they're not willing to do that, then I want to go to the mayor and ask him why. That's all I've got for now.
Okay. Excellent. And thank you for the discussion points regarding the Makakilo Drive extension on the onboard report from Uncle Frank. It is an ongoing issue in our community in which we don't have a second access point, and we don't even have an emergency second access point. So thank you for your due diligence, members of the Transportation Committee. And it will be really helpful if you provide the board an update on actionable items that the board can take and we can encourage our community to do in the next couple of meetings.
Frank has
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Frank, go right ahead.
Just an anecdote from years ago when the board met at Kapolei High School. Managing Director Mike Formby was the DTS director at the time, and he gave a briefing and we were allowed to go up to the microphone afterward. And I mentioned that when the project was put in the Transportation for Oahu Plan 2025 back in 2001, it was funded at $8.5 million. Mr. Formby said that you must be mistaken. That couldn't possibly be accurate. So the next month when he came, I showed him the page from the plan that showed it at 8.5 million. And by the way, at the time, the feds were funding 80% of the project, anything that was congestion management or safety, and that project certainly applies. How we've gotten up to 160 to 200 million, I don't really know. Just thought I'd mention that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, excellent. Thank you for the report. Thank you, community members, for the listening in on the ongoing travails of Makakilo Drive extension. And we're not giving up. We are completed with our city monthly reports, and now we get to our presentations for the evening. So first up, we have Mr. David Nakamura with Mutual Housing Association of Hawaii on the Gateway Low Income Rental Project. Are you ready to go?
I believe so. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, sound great.
All right. Aloha. I'm Dave Nakamura, and I'm Executive Director with the Mutual Housing Association of Hawaii, and I will try to share my screen right now. Okay. Can you see it okay?
Good.
Okay, great. Mutual Housing is a local nonprofit that owns, develops, and manages affordable rental housing focused on low-income families. We currently own 5 large complexes on Oahu and Kauai, totaling nearly 1,000 units and serving over 3,000 individuals. In addition to providing safe and quality shelter, we integrate resident services programs and other activities and gatherings to encourage and build strong communities. We've been privileged over the past decade to serve the East Kapolei community with 2 rental communities. The first community we developed is called Koloaula and is located across the Kroc Center. We were able to build the project through a ground lease with the state of Hawaii for 65 years. Kolo'ula's 308 low-income rentals, apartments, targeting 30, 50, and 60% of median income families, which would be considered very low income. It was built in 2 phases. We started in 2012 and completed the second phase in 2018. The second community we developed is called Kulia, and it's located in the Ho'opili subdivision, near or across from the soccer fields in that area. That project is 120 low-income rental apartments made of 1, 2, and 3-bedroom apartments, and again targeting 30 and 50% of median incomes. And that was completed during the pandemic in 2021. The new project we want to share with you today is called the Gateway Rentals, and we're tentatively calling it the Gateway Rentals, as it's located in the Gateway neighborhood of the Ho'opili community, which is located north of the West Oahu campus. We're located right below the H1 freeway and west of Kualokai Parkway. And I'll share a location map. The map I'm showing you is the broader Ho'opili master plan or subdivision. And as you can see up in the blue is, oops, I went back, the Gateway project. And we're located, right north of West Oahu. Here's a project rendering of the project looking from Kualokai Parkway. The plans call for 348 low-income rentals. 1, 2, 3-bedroom apartments will be the mix. Again, targeting, which we do 30, 50, and 60% of median incomes. And we anticipate we'll enter into like a 75-year affordability restrictions with the state of Hawaii. But effectively, these should be affordable rentals into perpetuity, because mutual housing, as our mission, is to provide, low-income housing for families. The Gateway project will be built in 2 phases on 2 6-acre parcels. The first phase is 192 units, which will be 4 4-story buildings. The second phase will be 156 units on 3 4-story buildings. It'll be serviced by our centralized office management offices, community center and learning center, which is the hub for our resident services program, and a maintenance facility. We'll also include open space, a tot lot, and we kind of incorporate things like barbecue stations and other amenities for the community. Here is a site plan of the project. At the top of the picture is Kualokai Parkway. Off to the far right is Farrington Highway, and the 2 parcels are shown is the first phase is to the left of the map, and then the second phase, the 3 buildings in phase 2, are to the right. And this is just a conceptual aerial perspective of what the complex will look like. If you can see, the Kualokai Parkway is the roadway to the left of the screen. West Oahu is off to us above in this aerial perspective, and you can see that we have our 7 4-story the sort of U-shaped buildings that will comprise the Gateway project. The construction or design of the projects, there'll be single loaded corridor buildings to promote natural ventilation. They'll be serviced by an elevator and fire sprinkler system for safety. It's building 5 construction, so light gauge, but it will be built to IBC standards that should have us withstand winds up to 130 miles per hour, which I believe falls in sort of the Category 3 hurricane. And I know that has been an issue brought up in some previous meetings with the board. We're in very kind of the early conceptual stages and planning of the project, but here's a tentative project timeline. We hope next month, or I guess in April, to submit a zoning request to HHFDC. The Gateway parcel is a commercially zoned area, so being that we're doing residential, there's a process, I think, through the new governor's executive proclamation where HHFDC would be the agency to submit a request for a zoning, I don't call it exemption, but approval to do the affordable rentals. We have met with the director of DPP and their staff, and they seem very supportive of what we're trying to do on the type of project we're doing. We would then start construction drawings at this point, or in March or April of this year, with the anticipation of submitting a financing application to the state in February next year, so about a year from now. And if all goes well, in the summer of next year, 2025, we'll have building permits and hopefully in late August, financing approval from the state of Hawaii, HHFDC, which then ideally we could hopefully start construction in March of 2026. So about 2 years from now, hopefully breaking ground and a 2-year construction to complete the first phase in June 2028. I just wanted to share one thing about our organization. We are real estate developers, but probably to a greater extent, I consider ourselves service providers. And that over the years, Mutual Housing, the past 20 years, we've done a variety of resident services programs, which can include after-school tutoring, food bank distributions, health screenings, on-site preschool, STEM programs, budgeting classes, and a variety of art and enrichment programs. And it's our philosophies to not only look at the shelter component of the communities we serve, but also to look at how we can make things better for the families we live in our communities. And when the families are stronger, we find that our communities are stronger, and we can be great neighbors in the neighborhoods we move into. In order to execute our programs, we have just a ton of really strong service providers that help us, and some of them I can't cover them all, but we've with Aloha Harvest and Hawaii Food Bank, we've been hub for food bank distributions to help deal with food insecurity in the communities we serve. The Hawaii Homeownership Center has done budgeting programs, and in the midst of the pandemic, came up with an innovative rent assistance program before some of the state programs came out. So we were able to provide $800 of rent assistance to our families that were impacted by the pandemic. Local banks and credit unions have been great about doing budgeting classes. And one of the programs we were able to start at our projects was one of the first in the nation, was to partner with Experience. So our renters that pay rent on time could have that applied to the positive rent scores, because the credit unions for the longest, the credit bureaus for the longest time were not treating our renters who pay like mortgage payers to get that benefit of showing that they're solid credit risks. We've had local churches help us with food distributions, and during the pandemic assisted with testing and immunization. Helping Hands Hawaii has helped us with household goods for our families. And one last program I just want to mention is that we've done in the Palolo community that we serve. It's called the Palolo Pipeline, where it was a partnership with University of Hawaii, Kapiolani Community College, Chaminade University, the elementary and middle school, where we all partnered together, and they work to work with the kids from preschool through high school to make them hopefully successful in graduating. They created a program that we've tried to replicate at Kolo'ula in East Kapolei, where with UH West Oahu, students, university students can earn service learning credits to come into our community and be mentors and help with after-school homework for our students. That got sort of derailed with the pandemic, but we're hopefully trying to get that back up and running again. So those are some of the programs that we hope to bring into the Gateway community when we build it in a couple years. I'm welcome any questions you have. In my presentation, I have my email in case anyone has questions for me, and be happy to answer them. Any questions you have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation and the good work that your organization does to house our families. Are there any questions from the board members? Chair recognizes Board Member Moon Kahele.
Mr. Nakamura, thank you for your extensive and thorough presentation. What caught my attention is this phrase, target medium income. What's that mean with regards to the numbers that was flashed? 30, 50, and 60, I believe. So if my combined household that I live only makes $75,000 a year, is that what it means, target medium income? Or what number do I have to qualify to meet to be considered a renter in your projects?
Yeah, so I'll take the 60% of median because of course families below that could would qualify. And for a family of four, if they earn 78,600, they would qualify for our project. So a family of two, that would be 62,880. Just to give you sort of a sense of the rents we charge at the Kalia project that we just completed, our 60% rentals, which are the highest in the market, we're well below what we can actually charge at 60%, but our one bedrooms are 1,150 a month. Our two bedrooms are 1,320, and our three bedrooms are 1,590. So I think we're trying to do our best we can to be financially feasible, but trying to hit sort of the most the working families in our community.
Thank you.
Does CUNY have 10?
Yeah.
Okay, and Chair recognizes Vice Chair Dr. Dudley.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Mr. Nakamura, there are two things. One is that property is the best agricultural land in the whole area. You know, that section used to be called the I can't even remember anymore, but it was the best land in the state. And you might notice across the street, the University of Hawaii has gathered up all of the good dirt and put it in a huge pile. We need to save that dirt if we possibly can. You know, we need to really look into the value of the dirt and how good the quality is and to see how much of it we can save. You probably won't be just building on top of it anyway. And if you're going to be taking dirt away, we need to put that in some good place where it actually will grow things and be good for our state. We're going to be in a state by 2050 where we're going to need to be entirely food self-sufficient in Hawaii because there won't be any food elsewhere to ship here. The other point I want to make is you're building to Cat 3 hurricane, but that's really ridiculous, sir. You know, with the hurricane spawning area over by Mexico has moved northward with the warming seas. We're right in the path now for hurricanes. We've found that the category 4 and 5 hurricanes have doubled in the last 30 years. Doubled. This is the worst hurricanes. Above your Cat 3 are 4 and 5. That's the ones we're talking about. They've doubled in the last 30 years. They'll continue growing. We're in a point where, you know, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when and how soon. We've already had a Category 5. Hurricane Lane hit the bottom of the Big Island in 2018. They're coming right at us. Category 5, and you're building for Category 3. It's wrong for your business. It's wrong for the future generations. It's wrong for everybody. People say we don't have that kind of windows. We do. Acadia makes windows that will withstand 214-mile-an-hour winds. That's the super Category 5. So please look into what you're doing. We need to save the dirt. We need to move up to Category 5 withstanding ability. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Real quick question then. Do you know who it is at the UH West Oahu that might be coordinating the collection of the dirt, the soil?
No, I really don't.
I'll look into that.
Thank you.
Okay, and then lastly, just to explain about the building design, we generally try to follow current building standards. So it's the UBC, the Universal Building Code. In the years that we get to actually start the construction, if the standards increase or we learn other information or guidance from the building department, we'll certainly look to meet those standards that are set for the community.
Let me tell you that we have a bill before the legislature, Senate Bill 2972, which requires all buildings like this to be built at Category 5. but I believe as of tonight that it's dying in the legislature again for the 5th year.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from fellow board members or comments? Okay, what about from the community at large, in person or online?
Patrick.
Okay, a community member, Patrick Watson, go right ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Nakamura, for your presentation. And I just had one question, and that's in regards to this development and how it will affect the infrastructure located in that area. Because one of the things that I have heard dealing with construction downtown, I worked on a few projects down there, is that these new developments are like putting a city on top of super old infrastructure. So how do you folks design or accommodate for that? Are you also improving the infrastructure for all of the different utilities in that area? Because we're seeing a really rapid growth of development there. And some of my friends who work in construction doing like water lines and things like that, they said, you know, sometimes they do it backwards and they wait till the thing breaks before they then improve it. So what is your thoughts on that? Mahalo.
Okay. The area that we're developing, the Gateway area, DR Horton is building the infrastructure in there. So it's all new roadways, new water lines, new sewer lines, new drainage. So we'll actually be building all from scratch, all brand new. So we won't be working off of any of the pre-existing, or there actually is no infrastructure in place there at this time. So everything will be brand new.
All right. Mahalo. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Awesome. Are there any other questions from the community at large? Hearing none, I have a few questions for you, sir. First is, what's the anticipated amount of people that you'll be housing in this new Gateway Rentals?
With at the 350 rate, oh, let me just do my math. It's terrible. Usually it's kind of averaging out about 3 persons per household. So I would guess around 1,050. You know, it's because we have the larger units, we're sometimes getting, you know, somewhere in the neighborhood of, 8 people in a unit, sometimes multi-generational, but it averages out, and sometimes we're dealing with kupuna where there's just one in a 1-bedroom apartment. So it kind of averages out around about 3.5 maybe per unit.
Awesome. Okay, few standard questions is like, are you all incorporating photovoltaic cells onto your property, on your roofs or on top of your parking lots? Or are you doing greenscaping on your roofs to help with cooling? And are you also doing landscaping using aerial natives?
So to answer your first question in regards to the rooftops, we're mandated to provide solar water heating by the state as affordable housing project. So that will probably take up most of the rooftops. We're certainly looking at trying to incorporate photovoltaics then to service the common areas, the lighting and the offices. Whether we'll be able to afford to incorporate it to cover all of the parking areas, not sure yet. We're still kind of in early stages, but we want to try to take advantage of it if we can. In regards to the landscaping, we have tried to incorporate native plants where possible. In fact, our project Kolo Ula is actually, named after the project that was, or the plant that was discovered, thought to be extinct, but discovered when I think the Kualakai Parkway was built and others. And so we've actually been able to incorporate that into our landscaping and name the community after it. So I think where feasible, we'll try to incorporate native plants. I can't remember your last question. Did I cover them all?
Yeah, you could.
Okay.
So I'll take them one at a time moving forward. So the next question is, are you looking at, or is it feasible for your project to consider recycling gray water or using rainwater cisterns for potable water usage and emergency usage?
We haven't gotten that far into the discussion. I'll certainly bring it up with our engineers to see if that's possible. I don't know, with catchment systems or others. So I don't have a definitive answer. Sorry.
No problem. We know you're in the dreaming stage, so we're gonna try and put out the wish list now. Because the one thing with your 1,000 people right now is that there's nowhere for them to go if there's a Category 4 hurricane. There's no place in the area for them to go that's rated for safety. So in your community center that you're developing, could you at least bulk it up so that it could be a disaster relief facility of some sort? So that the community members can actually evacuate downstairs. So that was me also looking for cisterns for water, independent off-grid electricity, commercial kitchen ideas. So that the 1,000 residents have a place to go in case what Dr. Dudley's predictions of a worst case scenario occurs.
Yeah, I don't know that our community center could accommodate all 1,050, but we certainly can try to, like you said, harden the building. There will be community kitchen areas for activities and normal kind of, fun activities that happen. So I think it would be of assistance in the case of a disaster. So at least it's a partial solution and maybe not a total solution if there was a catastrophic event.
No problem. We understand your budgetary concerns because you're trying to help the least of our community members with economic means. But we also want to make sure that their lives are as important as everyone else's.
Understood. Definitely, we agree.
Okay. Awesome. Any other questions or concerns from the community? Seeing none, thank you very much. Oh, go right ahead. Sure. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Mara Hansen, and I only asked this question because he brought up the question about solar, and then you talked about parking. And I used to work at Waiana Apartments, Old Kukui Gardens, in affordable housing. And one of the things that always seems to be an issue is parking. Are you making sufficient parking considering the fact that this is right off of a highway that's already probably going to need to be expanded and won't be able to accommodate parking? All of your other locations are in a neighborhood where people can go and park along parking allowed streets. So I want to make sure, are you guys putting in sufficient parking? People don't have just 2 cars per household anymore. That's my comment or concern.
Thank you.
Okay, the allocation we typically have is for our 2 and 3 bedroom units, 2 parking stalls, and 1 per 1 bedroom. Again, it's a balancing act of financial feasibility and the real estate we have available. I guess the best example I think that could apply is our Kolo Ula project near the Kroc Center. Really is somewhat isolated from access to a street parking. You actually have to walk into the DHHL subdivision to get there. We've been operating it for 10 years now, and generally it seems like people, we disclose up front the amount of parking we have available. It seems to be working generally well in some cases. Some folks then also that don't have as many cars make arrangements with their neighbors to use their stalls, and it's somehow that kokua seems to work. It is a challenge, so we do understand that. Ideally, if we had more parking, the better for our community, but it's sort of that balancing act that we do. So I guess our past experience finding that with Kolo Ula, that generally that 2-car ratio for the 2 and 3 bedrooms, even 4 bedrooms seems to work.
Thank you. One more thought came to mind regarding your services, social services slide. If this project is doing elder care, kupuna daycare, or children daycare, is it feasible to make sure that they're in proximity to each other? Because we find when the elders and the young people are together, both are given life. And also if there's a place on the campus to allow for outdoor recreational activities, particularly gardening. So like they can get fresh produce to do activities outside to grow things. Doesn't have to be large, but just be mindful in the design process. If you're doing elder and keiki care, to have access to not just a playground, but also a place where they can till the soil.
We'll try our best. We certainly try to address the diversity of the demographics in our community. And so certainly that would be a real positive if we could pull it off.
Awesome. Well, we seem to have another comment or question from board member Hale. You're recognized. Go right ahead.
Aloha, mahalo. Hey, Dave. Thank you so much for the presentation.
Aloha.
I'm a little concerned about this content phrase, we'll try. the beautiful thing about your project being in its infancy is that you can actually do the things that we need to have done here. So the idea of building community center and not actually committing to having it hardened, being able to house your 1,050 residents or whatever it is, creating the parking situations. I appreciate you coming to the board so early in the game. And I anticipate that part of your reason for doing so is to have community input. So we have a lot of developers coming in here and all telling us like they can try to do things. And a lot of times they don't actually do it. And what we're seeing is basically half done projects, you know, and that has a cumulative effect, right? So say there's a natural disaster. Now your community center, which could have taken care of your 1,000 residents, can only take care of what, 500, 200? And then where did the other ones go? To some other project who couldn't really take care of their people. And then, you know, our state can't take care of the people in general. So you need to take advantage of the fact that you have a brand new slate. You can do things Pono the right way from the beginning, and not with like we will try, but we will actually do it. We'll hit the mark. It'll be a high market. We're going to hit it. And that could set the standard for all the other developers who come in here trying to tell us what we need and what they give us is good enough, because we're kind of past the point of accepting good enough. Thanks again.
Okay, thank you. Just to comment on that, I don't want to over deliver and commit at this time, because if we don't do it, I don't want, that's not right either, right? That's not Pono. But so I think that the challenge, like I will say that having been doing this for 30 years now, is we're servicing the kind of the various low income families, and so the income streams that we have and to actually achieve and build the projects, that is a challenge with us. So we're trying to make the units as nice as possible, as big as possible, the bedrooms and so forth. And so then there do become cost trade-offs in what we can achieve, whereas a more luxury development may have the additional financing to incorporate more amenities and so forth. So
I have to disagree with the idea of basic safety being a luxury. I think it should be built in, bar none, without exceptions. I know that there's profit margins to consider and that maybe they're not going to be as big. So we're looking for someone to do the right thing, that maybe you're going to take a hit, or that maybe you need more grant writers or whatever you need. Maybe we need to support more. Maybe people need to have the pricing early. They can start saving now, whatever. But like certain things shouldn't be, well, we'll just see how it all works out in the numbers. We should just commit to it and get done. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Board Member Atala. And thank you, Director, for being here with us. Are there any final thoughts, Mana'o, to share? Hearing none, I would like to say that out of all of the presentations I've been privy to, your mission is for housing the least of us is on target. So our board has seen many real estate developers come in here and promise us the moon, half deliver, and don't follow through on basic necessities. And I personally like the approach you're taking, where you're coming to us early, talking story with us to hear what the concerns of the community are for our new neighbors to be, because they will be our new neighbors. And we want to let people know that we don't have disaster shelters here. Like, they just don't exist. So every project that comes in, we want to make sure that now we know better, we can do better. So that's all we're asking you to do. Try to do better than those that come before you. And whatever we can do to be of assistance to help along this project, please don't hesitate to contact myself or any of the board members so that we can try and help prepare a place for our new neighbors to be better than the ones that got the Ho'opili luxury units next door to them that also didn't do disaster centers.
Understood. So I do appreciate all the feedback and guidance that's been provided, and we'll take it to heart and discuss with our design team and see what we can, like you do. I think it's always important to strive to do better. So we will try to do our best.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming before us, and thank you for your time. Okay.
Thank you so much. Aloha.
Aloha. Awesome. Now let's go on to our next presentation for this evening, which is an update from Aloha Carbon on their project. I believe Naomi is online with us from Simon Pietri Enterprises. Oh, you're in person. I was like looking. Welcome.
Hope you don't mind. I have some notes just to help keep me on track.
No problem.
But aloha and good evening to the community and neighborhood board members, both present and online. My name is Naomi Kukak, and I oversee communications and community engagement for Simone Pietri Enterprises. I've actually been a lifelong West Oahu resident, and I even grew up in Honokai, Hale. So I'm particularly pleased to be here this evening and have the opportunity to present, along with my colleague, about our Aloha Sustainable Materials Recycling and Fertilizer Facility overview for the community. We like to call it SMRF for short, and in case anybody is wondering, we have talked about painting it blue. Next slide, please. So for our presentation this evening, we'll briefly be going over who we are and what we do as a company, identify problems that we're working to solve, highlight some of our outreach and engagement efforts to date, and then be giving an overview of the actual project itself, where it'll be, what it'll look like, and some of the work that we've actually performed to date. And then I plan on finishing up with a summary of the environmental assessment criteria areas that we reviewed and some of the most frequently asked questions that we've gotten in regards to our project. Next slide, please. So about Simone Pietri Enterprises, we're a small locally owned company that's based out of Kailua with expertise in waste conversion technology processes since 2006. And we're passionate about recycling, reducing, and producing locally. And we're committed to finding sustainable solutions. Next slide. So we started off by addressing the key problem of landfill waste, specifically construction and demolition waste, or C&D waste, that has the potential to be recycled, but currently isn't being done because of the challenges that it presents. This pile is typical of what gets landfilled in just a few hours at PBT. Approximately 1,500 to 2,000 tons of C&D debris are generated in Honolulu daily. And of that waste, we could divert approximately 40% to make a variety of renewable products and simultaneously work to lessen the impact of waste hauling activities. Next, please. So our overall goals and objectives for this project are to reduce the negative impacts of landfilling to residential communities along the Waianae coast by diverting as much of that C&D waste from going into the landfill as possible and relocating it to a more appropriate industrial area to be processed. And then further, hopefully we can reduce congestion from heavy truck traffic. So here we show how we're planning to divert that C&D waste away from being landfilled near residential areas and relocate it to our project site in the industrial park for processing. Next slide, please. The decision to locate our project in the industrial park, as well as look at invasive species waste and even make fertilizer, came about from input that we received from the community. This slide summarizes our engagement efforts to date. So from conducting case studies, giving formal presentations, conducting multiple rounds of online community surveys, being present at pop-up events to converse with and get real-time feedback from community members, all the way to listening in at neighborhood board meetings for over 2 years. We've made continued communications and engagement with the community a top priority as we continue to progress through our project. Next slide, please. So what is this project? Well, essentially, we are planning to build, own, and operate a waste recycling plant that'll be located in James Campbell Industrial Park for solid waste that are either currently landfilled or present other challenges. And then we will transform that waste along with other organic waste to create fertilizer and other recycled materials products. So we plan to receive, sort, and recycle materials out of the C&D waste, and then we'll convert the organic C&D components along with invasive species waste to energy using a fluidized bed gasification system, which will create power, which will in turn be used to sustainably self-power our facilities. And then, same one. We mentioned at our previous update with the board, previous slide still yet, that we were getting ready to publish our draft environmental assessment for review. Once that has been completed, if all goes well with our permitting process, we'll start installing equipment to receive and sort waste as early as next year in 2025, and we hope to be fully operational by 2027. Now, to date, all of our funding comes from private investment and federal grants that we received from the U.S. Department of Energy, as well as the Department of Agriculture. We have not received any state or county funds at this time. Next slide, please. So a little bit more about our site location. This is a GIS map of Honolulu County zoning. The areas that are in pink are intensive industrial zones. Our site is highlighted in the blue and is located across the street from where AES's former coal pile is. The site is an abandoned concrete plant that was left in, well, really not the best condition. Next slide, please. These are some before and after photos of what our facility is proposed to look like. On the left is a picture of some of the defunct abandoned equipment that currently occupies the site. And on the right is a picture of a commercial 50-ton per day gasification system that we are planning to install. Next slide. This is an overhead view of the site, of course. Again, on the left, we have the site in its current condition with several abandoned structures, pieces of equipment, old materials, debris, all left from previous tenants. And there's even a sand pile that's filled with debris towards the back of the property that actually extends 20 feet over grade. And that's covering nearly a quarter of the property. On the right-hand side, what you're looking at is a draft layout of what our proposed facilities would look like. We are still in the process, though, of making adjustments to the final design. Next, please. And here we have some additional photos just depicting, again, the current state of the property. So as I mentioned before, there are several waste piles located all over the property. Just for scale, if you look at the photo on the bottom right, that's actually one of the smallest piles that we have. So we do have our work cut out for us. But speaking of work, we can get into talking about some of the work that we've performed to date. Next slide. Shown here is a sampling event that we did at Island Recycling on 4 truckloads of over 12,000 tons of waste that we sorted by hand and that they were kind enough to shred for us and then ship out to the Department of Energy's National Gasification Test Lab in North Dakota for gasification testing that our team actually performed last year. Next slide. Now, up to this point, I've been talking very heavily about construction and demolition waste, but we're going to change gears a little bit. So as I mentioned before, we got a lot of community input asking if we could do anything about invasives. So about a year ago, we started looking at green waste and invasives as something that we could potentially turn into biochar and make organic fertilizer with. Since then, we have sent green waste samples to be tested. We've mixed our first batches of potting soil and fertilizer. And we currently have 3 different crop trials going on right now, the first of which we'll be harvesting this Friday. So very exciting for that. Next slide. This slide is a summary of the assessed impact to some of the environmental review areas that we looked into, which yielded low or no significant impacts. Unfortunately, I don't have time to address each of these during the meeting. However, this slide deck will be available along with additional slides that'll go over these criteria areas a little more. And then this information will also be available and can be viewed in greater detail within our environmental assessment, for which a link will be provided. Next, please. All right. And now I'm sure there are some questions, so hopefully this will answer at least a few of them. And if we have time, I will try to answer a few more if there are any. So the biggest one that we do get is usually, like, what are the air emissions like for this project? And for our process using gasification, this produces anywhere from about 60 to 90% lower emissions than, say, burning of the same type of waste. Another question that we got is, whether or not the ash is safe. And well, the answer is for us, all of our waste ash has passed toxic leachate tests for all pollutants. So yes, it's safe. Big one is if this is the same thing as incineration, and the short answer is no. Gasification is an air starch process that takes place within an enclosed system and is not the same as burning, which actually requires more oxygen to be able to combust the materials. Another big question is what kind of impact we're going to have on certain resources like water. We are still designing the plant and estimating what the total water demand is going to be, but the system that we are putting in place will be recycling about 90% of the water. Right now, we're estimating approximately 10,000 gallons a day for the gasification system. So we'll find out more about that. And of course, it'll be inside of our environmental assessment. And then another question that we've gotten more recently is how we plan on powering our operations. Well, we are creating a sustainable facility that's going to be producing its own energy. And so we do intend to self-power more than 80% of the time. And last one is about funding, which again, we're Our funding comes from private investment and federal grants from the DOE, EPA, USDA. But again, no state or county funds at this time. And that brings us to the end of our presentation. So if we still have any questions, we'd be happy to take them now. Otherwise, please feel free to use the contact information to reach out to us. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to include the link on here just because it was a little long, but I did send it to the board in hopes that maybe you might be able to input it into the chat. Otherwise, I'll try to hop on right after this and make sure that it gets in there for anybody who wants it. And then we'll also be providing an email for anybody who does decide to look at the environmental assessment so they can leave any comments or questions on the document.
Okay.
And with that,
Thank you for the presentation. First housekeeping measure regarding the environmental assessment, we can upload it to the neighborhood board's cloud drive so that everyone has access. So if you gave us the link, we will put it onto the cloud drive for this date. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
Excellent. Any questions from fellow board members? Chair recognizes first board member Mikiala Lindstone and then Mick afterwards.
Just a comment. This is how you do community engagement. Aloha Carbon is exemplary on how you do community engagement. For 2 years, this project has been going on, and this is probably the 4th or 5th time they have come before the neighborhood board. And not just the neighborhood board, but they also came before the Environmental Justice Committee. So not just the board, but also a committee to present on this. And they came to the neighborhood board before they even got their site or before they even began their project. They started on community engagement. This is how you do community engagement. You don't just come and present one time and stop. You keep coming back to the board and you keep presenting and you keep updating the board. And even with criticism, because we've had people come criticizing this project, and you keep coming back and you say, you know what, we've had criticism, but this is what we're doing. And this is what we're doing to benefit your community. This is how you do community engagement. People take notes on Aloha Carbon. And your presentation has gotten better. There's frequently asked questions you didn't have before, but you have it now. This is how we do community engagement. Take notes on Aloha Carbon. Thank you. Thank you so much. It was really nice.
Thank you. Now, to board member Mick for.
Yeah, was this gasification project, did you guys do something similar on Hickam?
I think I remember you asking something about this the first time that we presented to the
That's
neighborhood board. And I can't say that I've done it personally. Our founder and owner of the company, who may actually be present online, she may have had some experience with that previously, but that's not our project. We didn't actually work on it, not for this company anyway.
Right,
That might have
okay,
been through
yeah,
previous-
because it seemed to have been a success.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that one.
Any other questions or comments from fellow board members? Any other questions or comments from the community at large? Okay.
Yeah, we have one from Ulukoa.
Yep, chair recognizes Ulukoa Bonsalan.
Hey, aloha. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm in my car. I'm gonna turn off my video. Okay, thank you for your presentation, Naomi. What I appreciate is that we're using technology to try and be innovative and find ways to answer the problems, and that's really, I really appreciate that. We need to do that. The only thing I would point out, and this is not just for this project, but for others also in this area, I keep hammering in that when it comes for I saw your spreadsheet on the archaeological and cultural resources. All I ask is that I highly recommend having an archaeological monitor whenever you're digging into the ground. The reason is that these environmental assessments, when they assess the cultural resources, they're looking for above ground structures. And in our area, it's the sinkholes that had the avifaunal remains. And especially in your area, I can tell you all around that area, there have been ivikupuna And so yeah, so just that's where you need an archaeological monitor, and that cannot be ascertained by these archaeologists who are not familiar with the area, and they just looking above ground and saying, oh, it's clear. So that's all. And so thank you for trying to find a way to figure these things out. Aloha.
Thank you. Yes, and we took note of that.
Okay. Awesome.
And
Okay.
I'll just mention that's one Honokai Hale to one Honokai Hale. That's a Honokai Hale communication right there.
Yeah, no, a side note, I saw that Callahan name.
Engagement right there.
I think he might be married to Josh. If so, tell him I said how's it. I haven't seen him in a decade, so aloha.
That is my husband, yes. I'll tell him you said hi.
I think one of the reasons why Aloha Carbon has been so good at community engagement is that most of them are from here, right? They're from here.
But Naomi's been great because Ulupo has been critical
Yes.
of this project, but Naomi's been great. And like I said, this is how you do community engagement.
Constructive communication.
Exactly.
Awesome. Okay, any other questions or comments from the community? Okay, seeing none, we will make the environmental assessment available on the community cloud drive so that people can look it over. And if anyone has questions or concerns, they'll provide you or information, or they'll provide you that feedback at the next meeting you're at.
Which I'm sure we will be at more. Thank you so much. Oh, and I do also have some physical printouts of the slides in case anybody wanted. I only brought a couple though.
Okay, awesome. So anyone wanting a physical handout, please email me afterwards.
Thank you.
Now we have now we have the third presentation for the evening, which is the Makakilokori update, if the Grace Pacific representative is here with us. Yeah, hey, how's it? I thought I saw him.
Hey, thank you. Okay, good evening. My name is Scott Komatsu, and I'm the Vice President of Materials at Grace Pacific. I'm a second generation employee, and I've been with them for about 35 years now. Along with me in attendance is Miles Mizukami, he's the President, Grace Pacific. Wyatt Matsubara, he's Vice President at NAN Inc. And Jody Cordero, she's our Environmental Health and Safety Compliance Manager, and she's Grace Pacific. Yeah. Okay, Grace Pacific, a little about Grace. You know, we're a locally owned company. We're vertically integrated material supply and paving company. We have more than 450 employees statewide, and we're a low-cost hot mix asphalt and construction aggregates type supplier. And we've been in servicing the communities for nearly a century, almost 100 years. We're here tonight, Dr. Keone Dudley, per his request. On August 24th in 2022, we shared with this group like who Grace Pacific was, what we did, and also wanted to share with everyone what our proposed changes for our corridors. We really wanted to do it before we actually went in, so we could, you know, if there were any concerns or adjustments we needed to make, we would take care of that, you know, beforehand. You know, we listened to the comments. We also did also really appreciate a lot of the positive support we had last time. That was awesome. And on September 28th, we came back. I think the board requested a little visuals on some of the reshaping of how our quarry was going to be. And what I really wanted to reiterate tonight is that you know, as of today, I think that's almost 2 years later, year and a half later, we're still doing the same things. We haven't changed things. We hadn't decided that we're going to go in all these different directions. So I wanted to make sure everybody understood that. So real quick, I wanted to go over, you know, the 3 things that we wanted to do. in this upcoming permit. The first thing is that we're asking to extend for additional 15 years beyond our current permit that expires in 2032. We also would like to extend our hours of operations for our hot mix asphalt plant and a concrete batch plant. Currently, it's dawn till dusk, and we wanted to change it to 24/7. We wanted to make it clear that this does not mean we're going to run 24/7, 365 days a year. What we will be doing is it's project-based. Like, for example, many times the state highways, to mitigate traffic, they do it at night. And that's why, we kind of needed this type of allowance to run at night. And the final one is that we would like to reshape, not expand. So we're not asking for additional mining area. What we want to do is we're going to reshape it, give back some of the areas that we thought we were going to use, when we did this in 2012, and change it to different areas that would help us. It essentially yields better, what we call A-grade type materials, so that a higher yield of it. And the other great part is that the average buffer between our operations and the residents, it's slightly larger now. So, to us, it was a win-win. And I think that right now, that's kind of all we had prepared for tonight.
Okay, awesome.
So any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Mahalo for being here. Thank you for
Thanks.
coming back for the third time in order to help us. Mahalo for letting us know that nothing in your plan has changed. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
At this time, let's open up for questions or comments from board members. Going to Board Member Hale.
Thank you for your presentation, sir. The extension of your lease, what are you guys gonna do to the mountain? What are you gonna do to Hollywood? Because right now, as you drive by, you see this, you know what this.
Yeah.
So how far up or around Northport are you guys gonna go? Are you gonna come around to the side towards the highway or?
So I brought it the last time. So essentially, brought a hard copy. So the area in blue is the areas that we're not gonna mine anymore. And that red area in orange is the new proposed area. So to kind of answer your question, it's hard to see from looking down on the freeway. When you're up there, I know, I can give you an example. You can see that that hump green mountain is still a mountain. That area doesn't go past that. It's still in front of that mountain. So it's not like we're gonna cut that mountain down and mine the quarry. What it does do is, so if you see the shape, it's not like most quarries is like an oval square. It allows us to mine a lot more efficiently. And then of course, depending on our projects or the demand for the construction demand, we'll be able to choose what we call A-grade and B-grade type aggregates a lot more efficiently. And real quick, A-grade is for asphalt and concrete, and B-grade is your subgrade material, base course, select course, freebie.
In addition to just what I just asked, you're considering expanding or extending your work hours. Well, what about the people that you're supplying? Are they going to be available to receive your goods and products?
Yeah. So for example, the hot mix asphalt plant, those are, we do have an internal paving company, like I mentioned. We do have customers that pave and pick up asphalt from us. So it'd be project-based, and they would be, we would produce it and they would take it to their job sites, correct?
Okay, so it's not a constant, like you said earlier, 24/7.
Yeah, yeah, not at all.
I can imagine trucks just coming down
And the great part, we did traffic studies, we did a lot. So hopefully I'll be able to answer all your questions today. But currently what we're doing, even when we work at night, we're hauling aggregate to Kalailo or Campbell Industrial Area. So that amount of trucks, so we can't put our asphalt plant in the quarry until we get this, because we got to be able to run day and night. So that trucks that's going there and bringing hundreds of thousands of tons there, that traffic disappears, because now we're supplying the plant right there in the quarry. So it's really positive. Thank you. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments from the board members?
I just,
Yep, go right ahead.
we're talking about Pu'umakakilo, right?
Yes, Pooh, yes.
So, I was born in Nanakuli, but I grew up in Kailua. So Kailua, one thing I learned when I grew up in Kailua was there's lots of names for like rains and winds. But
Yes.
then when I moved to this side, afterwards I learned there's lots of names for hills because our hills on this side are very sacred and special.
Mhm.
And so one of those hills is Pu'umakakilo.
Yes.
And so Pu'uloa, many hills is when you stand at Pu'uloa and you look out, Pu'uloa is not really a hill, but it's named Pu'uloa because when you stand at Pu'uloa and you look out at our hills, Pu'uloa means many hills. It's because you can see all the hills of Ewa.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible vantage point.
Beautiful
Because
view.
our hills are sacred. And so Pu'umakakilo is one of those. And so I think Dr. Dudley, and bringing you back, I think one of his intentions is with all of this dredging of Pu'umakakilo and its sacredness and its sanctity, what will we do to give back to it when it's,
That's a great question. Yeah. And definitely thank you for, bringing that to our attention. I know Dr. Dudley, he also mentioned that when he invited us to come here. Definitely don't have the, 35 years at Grace Pacific. I don't have the information or the background to be able to answer that question right now. It's in that you bringing it to the table was good. It's something, we can discuss at Grace Pacific, but that unfortunately I can't answer that question right now. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments from board members? Chair recognizes board member Matthew Khan.
Sorry,
No.
I kind of missed a portion of it. So overall, is the aim to be like Kapa'a Quarry where they provide asphalt and?
Yes, so Kapa'a Quarry is owned by HCND. I think the landowners is the state. I want to say it's the state. And what they do is they provide aggregates, and we also have a hot mix asphalt plant there in their plant. The economic part of it is that trucking is very expensive. So I can have a quarry here and they can have a quarry there. For them to bring asphalt or aggregates all the way to our site would add, we would have what we call a logistic advantage in costs, $10, $15 a ton. So, and then on top of that, is your question is like, are they just similar in what we do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. And with that, we also have a concrete batch plant that HCND, same company owns, and they have it in our quarry. And for the same reason, it's a logistics for construction.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking of that because of why you would need to provide that kind of service if the nearest one is, not Kapa'a, is that one by Pearl City?
There's one in Halawa Valley, Hawaiian Cement. And they also have a quarry. They mainly do concrete. Unfortunately, their aggregate is not as suitable for asphalt, and it's mainly due to absorption. long story short, a lot of rain there, over the millions of years, a little bit more porous, higher absorption, so that it doesn't meet specs. And I think that's where I started. Grace Pacific was there, but I don't know if it was just where they're mining and stuff. Eventually it became where we couldn't make asphalt out of that quarry anymore. Yeah.
I see. And I guess the advantage is frees up traffic too, right? If you're having to not go all the way to Halal.
And I'm making some assumptions. If you're talking about like if we closed one quarry and ran out of the other two quarries, I think that's definitely one. Higher cost to anything Pro City and West, right? Because of hauling. And then finally, volumes. The volume of aggregate that we do on Oahu, it hasn't been shown that one or two quarries can provide that demand. Yeah.
That's awesome. Just another question would be, I guess if you're going 24/7, and it's not 365 days a year, like you say, it's project based. The residents aren't that close to the quarry, but is it going to be, I guess, if I were a resident there, Makakilo, is there a noise pollution that's going to be?
Yeah, so we've done sound studies also. We have a lot of things in place when we do have our operations that mitigate noise. For example, one of the things we do is when you hear a regular backup alarm, that travels. It's meant to be heard from far away. We use what we call a white noise backup alarm. And, and with going in with this permit, one of our conditions is we're going to try and never reverse, even with the white noise. So white noise is essentially a lower, it's loud, but it's short distance because it doesn't travel as far. And the studies we did and the people we worked with, by the time it reaches the nearest resident, it's in the 30 decibel range. And I think ambient is 45-ish. So that they call it, what did she say, non-discernible, or, it's pretty much can't hear. On top of the fact, we have the Pu'u, Makakilo. We have areas that's 850 down to 400 between majority of our residents. And because of that, that helps deflect a lot of noise. And most of it, if at all, the low side would be the freeway. You know how loud the freeway is. We'll never be louder than that. So yeah, the distance helps. And like I say, we do a lot of things because, we try to be a really great neighbor. Like I've been here forever. That's always been our goal since I started. Because we didn't want it to be an overnight, make money and get out of here. We want to be a part of the community.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Dr. Dudley.
Okay, your turn, Vice Chair, Dr. Kilney Dudley. Go right ahead.
Let me try to find my video again here. Come on. There we go. Oops, come and go. Okay. First of all, I really want to apologize for not being there tonight. I've been really sick, and I didn't want to give what I've got to everybody there. Believe me, you wouldn't want it. Let me really thank you for coming. I hope that before we finish this evening, you'll introduce the other people who came with you. We'd just like to get to know those a little bit better. Your presentation again tonight has been wonderful. I think that everybody agrees. I know there are a few people here and there that still have problems, but for the most part, everybody agrees that the Grace Pacific has done a really good job with the quarry and tried to really work with the community. I would like to, later we're going to consider though the resolution, and I'd like to, you've had a copy of it now for a week. The people of Non-Inc. have also had a copy, and I'd just like to know a little bit about the reaction and conversations that you might have had among yourselves.
Yeah, that that is something that, along with what you're talking about, it's just it's a project of great magnitude that unfortunately right now we have no information, right? It's not something that where I don't think I could even YouTube down and everything's on YouTube, right?
Right.
So it was discussed within the company. Definitely not something we can commit to right now. But I assure you, it wasn't brushed aside and made like, we're not doing that, right? So, and I think in that 1 week, that's kind of as far as we got on that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Are you finished, Dr. Dudley?
Maybe we could at least run through those pictures so that people get an idea of the kinds of things we're talking about.
Sure.
At the end.
Hold on.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, if we do take the resolution out of order, we'll have to finish the presentation first, Dr. Dudley. So, or we can take the pictures up when we get to the resolutions.
That'd be fine, and thank you very much.
Okay, no problem. Any other questions or concerns from the community on the update on the presentation?
Patrick Watson and Maeda Timpson.
Okay, the chair recognizes community member Auntie Maeda Timpson, then we'll go to Uncle Patrick Watson afterwards.
Aloha, Chair and members. It's Maeda Timpson. I'm a 50-year resident. Oh gosh, I'm so ancient. And what's interesting is when I became a resident, about a year or so later, here came Grace Pacific into Makakilo. And we were surprised at what you do. We didn't understand. And working with, the other businesses, state and city and federal entities, that's how Makakilo was built. And Grace Pacific was part of it. They have been, over these years, they're very, very professional. They're honest. They're really community minded. We have called them for like, hey, we're doing an event. It's dirty. Can you bring us a water truck? And there they come down the road. Or we asked them, oh, sponsor, can you help sponsor the event? Yeah, they do. They have always been there. And we were always informed because over maybe 15 years or so, I was chair of the neighborhood board. And they always informed us about what was going on. And, but I tell you, we understand all projects are not perfect. All projects come with complaints. In this instance, there's been some complaints about dust, noise, and vibrations. But they've been around for 50 years, well before many of the others have been. And though there's complaints and stuff, they continue to work to the community. And there have been times where they've made concessions for the community. If someone's house was, in a big dust danger or whatever, they were there. So my point is that Grace Pacific has been around 15 years, and they've been around. They just not have been there. And when Mickey Ala talked about community engagement, they started community engagement 50 years ago. And, in my conclusion, we did not expect to see this massive growth of our state. But here it is, gang. We cannot just build our home and say, okay, that's our house. It's okay. I don't want, that's it. I don't want you to come bother me. No make noise, no this, no do that. But how is Kapolei built? What about Maui? How are we going to build that? You know what? And even this low income rental project tonight, how are we going to do that without a Grace Pacific? And look how much the cost. If we gotta bring that rock and asphalt and everything from the mainland, what do you think gonna cost here by the time it gets to us? We're already suffering with high housing prices. So I'm just saying, please, those who are having some problems, please try to you know, continue to talk to Grace, and I expect that they will continue to work in the way they have honorably treated us in Makakilo. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mahalo and Kamega, thank you for sharing history of Grace Pacific as a good neighbor. Let's go to Patrick Watson.
Mahalo, Chair, and mahalo to the folks at Grace Pacific for your presentation. I just have a couple of questions, and that is, we currently live on the Makai side of the highway. We're approximately 5 houses away from the site on Farrington Highway. And I'm just curious, are there any impacts that we should be aware of in that location? Because my wife, who's lived here now 24 years, experienced a lot of dust and a lot of that type of impact from the digging that took place. So I just wanted to know, like noise, dust, is there anything that we should be concerned about in that regard?
Just to make sure I understand where you're talking about, is that like Kapolei Knolls or the one
Correct.
near the golf course?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. So, at one time, that was the hub of our operations. Everything that we made at Grace Pacific, we brought it down through below the highway, and we were running our asphalt plant. Hawaiian Cement had a concrete plant with us, and our shop was down there. Right now, that parcel has no activity. The plan that we're going in with the changes that we're asking for, it does not affect that area. We are not asking anything right now with is that going to be for parcel 4? Okay. Yeah, with parcel 4. Yeah. So to answer your question, right now, I don't see anything changing with this upcoming proposal that we're doing.
Okay, and then the other question is like in light of the fact that NAN Inc. is now going to be, taking over Grace Pacific, do all of these conditions that you folks are talking about carry over? So there's no like, oh, well, we said this, but then NAN Inc., their news, they're going to do something different. Is there any danger of that occurring?
Well, and NAN's a great company, and kind of regardless of if it was still Grace Pacific, 100% or A and B or NAN Inc., whatever changes that we would like to do if, in the future, it would once again have to go through the DPP for approval. And once again, we'll come out here and talk to everybody, give you the heads up first. But yeah, that's kind of how, did that answer your question?
It did, and the reason I bring it up is because of the other issue that took place at Ho'opili with the undergrounding of the electrical that, community was told one thing, and then on down the line, it's like that whole commitment disappeared. And I don't want to see, I don't want to see that type of activity take place again for the community. And then my final point is that I know Councilmember Tupola mentioned that she was working with you folks in regards to getting access to that road for potential use for emergencies to get people out of Makakilo in lieu of the fact that Makakilo Extension Drive is not yet on the board. So do you know anything about that?
The only thing I heard about that is I heard it was yesterday. I was not in the loop on that, but definitely, no, I don't have any information on that.
Okay, because that would go a long way with the community if you folks are willing to work with them to try to create an emergency access using your folks' road for for the sake of life. You know what I mean? So thank you.
Friends
so
for life.
yeah. All right, mahalo.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. Chair recognizes community member Karen Polk.
Oh. Good evening, neighborhood board members and members of the community. I just wanted to simply make some comments. Grace Pacific is a longstanding member of the Kapolei Chamber of Commerce. Oh, sorry, I should introduce myself for those online. Karen Polk, Executive Director of the Kapolei Chamber of Commerce. And a longtime member, one of our charter members, actually. We just celebrated our 15-year anniversary last year. But I just want to echo all of the comments that have been made tonight about just the responsibility and the communications that have been put forth by Grace Pacific. I think it's exemplary, and the community mindedness. One point that hasn't been pointed out that comes from the economic impact piece is that Grace Pacific employs over 450 employees, and they're based here in Kapolei. And we have to keep that in mind. It's a huge anchor employer for us here. And many of those folks that work for Grace live on the west side.
It was a very high percentage. I think Jared shared that the last time.
Yeah. So I just want to remind the community of that. I mean, I think that can't go ignored either. And, you know, I thank you, Scott and Grace, for coming here again and going through those questions. It's so important, you know, to have those questions answered and just to communicate. And that's a great thing. But, you know, very community minded. I know Maida mentioned a lot of those examples. Outstanding keiki, something that you've done for the kids for years and years and years. So thank you for all that you've brought back to the community as well.
Thank you. Awesome. Any other questions or comments from the community at large? Please come.
Online.
Okay.
Mara Hansen. I live up in Makakilo.
Oh, nice to meet you.
I live on the other side of Makakilo Drive, so your operations don't really affect me too much, except it's the dustiest place I've ever lived. My windowsills are nasty. So, but you want to do 24/7 operations. What decibel level is the plant going to be operating at? Is the plant itself going to affect the noise level in our community?
So when we did our study, the most impactful thing is normally reverse horns.
Okay.
And when trucks slam their gates, right? That we can do administrative policies, keep them out, never come back or whatever to kind of manage that part of it along, like I talked about, you know, part of what we're gonna do is make a traffic pattern so that they should not have to reverse, right? It was funny, you know, when we did the study originally about reverse horns and we told them what we were doing, she asked us how many trucks. So she said, well, her study came back with 30 trucks reversing at the same time. And it was like not realistic. And even with those levels at the distance at the houses, plus the pool base, it's negligible as far as sound.
Okay. The reason I bring it up is I don't really hear the noise or anything, but I see the comments on next door. Some of my neighbors do have impacts from when you guys blast and stuff. Will there be blasting at night to
No,
feed?
Never.
24/7.
We actually could by permit blast all day, but we try to focus our blasting between 10 and 12, you know, generally. And I'm glad it's great that you asked this question. We go as far as we have a bunch of, you know, specific, homes that we email every time we blast because once we do it, they give us feedback. I think that's one of the ones that helps us with information and feedback, and it's great. And then what we can do is we can adjust. It's a science, right? Blasting. The example I always give when I started, showing my age too, there was cane fields all around us, right? So we would have, it's a weed, right? You know,
right. It's
black ash when they burn.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so we had 120 holes, you know, 60 to 80 feet deep, just big boom. It was very impressive, the blast, right? Today, we do 35 holes, 25, 30 feet down. It is so unimpressive. You guys would really watch it and go, was that it really? It just does this. And because, you know, and then we have seismic monitors, we have dust monitors, we have wind direction monitors. We just upgraded last year and spent almost 90,000 to upgrade equipment. It takes readings every 1 minute. And our levels is it's, I wanted to share with this with a lot of people. It's amazing. Like, I think 150 micrograms per cubic meter is the limit. Our peak days is 2. Like, that's when high winds or something happen. And like I said, it takes dust readings every 2 minutes. The other part for seismic, I'm going to screw it up, but there's this line, a national line that says, if you stay below this line, and I'll get this next time I come, but if you stay below this line, it can't damage anything. And we track that all year long. Every blast we track it. We have a mainland company analyze all our data. You know, we're not doing it in a house and going, oh, today was good. And we get that feedback and we don't pass it. But even when we're higher than normal, we make adjustments. We make adjustments based on if there's a lot of clouds, if it's a windy day, dust. We shoot about 150 gallons of water a day. And if it's a really windy day, we can go up to 300,000 gallons. And this is being extremely proactive. We have dust suppression sprayers on our equipment, you know, it's what we call drop points. Am I getting too technical? I'm sorry. I get it. I've been doing it for 35 years. So there's so many things we do. We have great management with a lot of experience. And you really can tell, like, when we get calls, and once again, we want to share our hotline. We have a hotline number. We have an email address, MakakiloKapoleiHonokai@gracepacific.com. And we track that. You know, we hold ourselves accountable. We really do. And we make sure we follow up. We make sure that, you know, even me as vice president, you know, if I have to call them up, and we send out investigators, you know, which is probably a lot of times Jody's compliance group, and we really try our best to be great neighbors.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Just in case.
Yes.
Just in case. All the studies, all the expectations, reality comes, right? We always aim for one thing, but we know sometimes we all fall short. Do you guys have any plans for creating a natural sound barrier, maybe with planting some native trees as a sound break? That might even help with the dust too. Like, do you guys have any backup plans for if we implement this and then we get feedback? What else can we
So the
do?
great news, like she was saying, we've been doing it for many, many years.
Okay.
And like I said, based on feedback, based on hotline calls, based on our data, we collect a lot of data. And we have the skill set and the experience to make adjustments to hopefully not disturb the neighbors.
Okay.
But backup plans, you know, it's not something we're gonna find a way to be compliant. In fact, be better than compliant. And that's our goal. It's always your goal, right? But yeah, I agree with you. Things happen, but believe me when I say that we'll do everything we can to be great neighbors.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for fielding questions from community and board members. Are there any remaining? Oh yeah, Ulukoa online. Go right ahead.
I'll be quick. Thank you, Chair. I'm still in my car in the parking lot. I could have driven over by now. But anyways, thank you, Grace Pacific. You know, I appreciate that you guys taking care to Malama Pu'u. All I ask is to consider sometime in the mid 2000s, I believe it was, there is some bulldozing, and you guys was bulldozing them over like it was running over to the freeway. And before, you could never see what you guys were doing up there, but it brought your boundary like super close to much closer to the freeway. And it, you know, that was kind of ugly. And this, you know, I know this is not a monetary thing. It, you know, it's kind of weightless, you know, but if possible, it would be good that when you future construction, don't bulldoze it over and bring it closer to the freeway, because as Mikiala was saying, John Papai he marveled at the beauty of the hills and ridges in this southern Waianae Mountains. You can see it on two sides of the of Makakilo Drive. But if you keep bulldozing over, coming all the way down to the freeway, yeah, you keep Makakilo, but it makes the, you change the landscape below, and yeah, it's something that's dear to me. But yeah, thank you for letting me share. Aloha.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, what area you're talking about, like,
This is
when you,
on the freeway, on the H1 freeway.
yes.
Before, like whatever you guys were digging and mining up there, you couldn't see it from the freeway, but there was a time where you guys was like if you can picture that table in front of you guys, and imagine that the freeway is on the ground, so like pushing everything over the edge, so that it came closer and closer and closer lower to the freeway. And I remember like, oh, they're coming closer. Like they I don't know what you guys are doing, but you came like closer, and like I hope that you know, whatever you're doing, go do them up on top. But I hope you don't continue pushing things over the edge until you come as level as the freeway kind of thing, That's
Is that Malka of the freeway or Makai?
yes, Malka.
Malka, okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember that, but definitely,
Yeah.
and not to make excuses, at times we have to make way, Hawaiian Electric wanted to put a bunch of poles up there. Sometimes there's emergency, we're always writing agreements to give them access to go down there. And I'm not saying that that's what happened, but I just specifically can't, I don't remember that, Alan, but
So
definitely.
if you can imagine the ceiling, if the ceiling of that room was where your boundary was and the floor was the freeway, and then imagine the bulldozers pushing over the edge, and then it comes lower and lower and lower, so that now we can see you folks and all your construction activities. But after that, you plant stuff, you plant trees, and but it was changing the landscape. And again, it doesn't matter to a lot of people, I'm sure, but for some of us, yeah, if yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We did build up a lot of our berms, and of course, it can't hide the mountain, but what we wanted to do is, so people won't see a lot of movement on when vehicles are going in and out. So thank you for that feedback.
Okay. Chair recognizes Board Member Michaela Linsdale.
Mahalo also, and mahalo Maida, mahalo for also being exemplary in community engagement and coming back time and time again to present and update us. And mahalo for your honesty as well. Our hills of Eva are unique to our identity as a place. They differentiate us from the windward side, which has so many names for rains and winds. We have so many names for our hills because they were so special and they're so unique to our identity. And you are so privileged to be able to work with one of our special hills, which is Pu'umakakilo.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you. Mahalo nui loa for your presentation. Appreciate it. So as I understand, the community has been in conversation with the board and yourselves over two really distinct matters. The first is what you've heard a few times, which is whether or not we can work with Grace Pacific for potential emergency access using your land or your roadway or some other means. So that's the first issue. And the second is a conversation that's been going on since the 2 years ago, which is the legacy of the quarry. What will be its final imprint? We've had conversations about carvings. We've had conversations about whether or not it can be turned into a local amphitheater because there's no space in West.
Noise can't get out.
Right, like
easy.
for open air amphitheater, so we can have parties inside, right? So that conversation about really how we going to be continue to be good neighbors when at some point the project going to be finished. And so that's what the nature of the resolution that we're taking up, not to say that that's what needs to happen, but we're trying to move forward the conversation in the way that's appropriate for the board, which is we cannot talk to each other except for actually here. Right.
Great question. Right now, no plans. What we do have in place is the renaturalization plan. where we're gonna try and return it as best as we can, you know, with certain, of course, designs and criteria to put it back to how it was. And if we did think of something, or you know, of course, we would like once again we'll come and let you guys know about it. That would be where we would ask for a change in our beneficial reuse plan. That once again we'd have to come through here and then we come through the TPP. But yeah, no plans right now.
Awesome. So thank you very much for continuing the conversation with us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Mahalo nui loa. And thank you, gentlemen, for coming. Oh, yeah.
Can I ask you something?
For sure. Come on up.
Sit down, Scott. The first thing about whether the conditions are gonna change because there's a new owner, no. Scott's gonna be responsible for all those conditions. If he doesn't listen, we're gonna bonk him on the head. Very specific, it's gonna be on the look for those conditions that will not change because there's a new owner. Yeah, there's been a lot of studies that were done. I think Grace did a great job before we took over. I think they looked, I mean, obviously, there's gonna be impacts in the area. Obviously, there's some concerns, but I think they did a great job in doing that. We support what they're doing. So that's not gonna change. The question you asked about why we need the quarries here, it really is, you don't want one person being the sole source of it. You want competition. That drives down costs. Driving down costs gives benefit to taxpayers. So when people are bidding on these projects, if we have an advantage, we're gonna get that advantage so we can get the job, and that's gonna get passed on to the taxpaying dollars. So that's why we really want to have the, you know, multiple places open and have that opportunity. So the Manini question you guys asked about the access road, that will happen. So our owner has already talked to your council member, Andrea, and they've already been discussing. We met with DPP when we first picked up the property. They asked as well, and we told them that it makes sense. So we'll figure something out and we'll look at that. So that's not going to be it shouldn't be an impediment from us, unless they're making us pay the $200 million or whatever. So, but I mean, I don't know about that cost. I mean, rail, maybe the cost is equivalent to that.
Yeah.
But,
I think there's some padding in it.
so, but in terms of, getting the landowner to help out with that, the owner's already made, representation to TPP, the director, and also to your council members. So, yeah, yeah. I was trying to see him sweat a little bit, so that's why I didn't, you know, bring anything up. And then affordable housing project, man, that's great. You know, getting anything under 60% AMI, that's tremendous. And I know you guys. I mean, by the way, I had such tremendous articulate feedback from this board. I'm sitting back there, and I mean, I don't do this for a living. I go to different boards across the country. But I do know it's just great questions, very, very well pointed surgical questions that were great. I know they got a tough balance trying to build AMI housing at that range because they got construction costs they got to deal with, and they got to try to find that balance. But I mean, great for them to try to put that kind of housing in the community because that's what's needed, you know, that kind of range. That's the range you want. That's the kind of range you want. So I think that's great. So I think you guys got great things, great board. So thanks for letting us.
You should have done this. Yes. Public school. I'm public school.
Thanks for letting.
That's why we listen to you.
But yeah, so the question was, yeah, Scott will be responsible. Not gonna let him off the hook.
You guys got our hotline.
Yeah, so we appreciate your support. Went through and we're gonna continue. Auntie Maid over there for sure. You know, she said some great words. I gotta make sure she's and the community rightfully so are taken care of.
Yep. Awesome. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I can go now.
Speaking of which, I do know that Grace Pacific has been yet again asked for support for the upcoming March 16th Prince Kohio parade for lending their support. So the community is never let down by them doing much kokua. So I know they will do what they can. Awesome. With that, let's move forward with the state monthly reports going to Uncle Ernesto Garcia for U.S. Congressman Ed Case, if he is online. He is slacking tonight, so we go to U.S. Congresswoman Joe Takuda, representative. They are working hard on federal issues. So now let's go to Uncle Gordon Pang with Governor Josh Green, who is live with us on WebEx.
Good evening. Oh boy, thanks. I'm gonna jump through quickly here. I'll find my notes. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, members, and fellow West Walton residents. My name is Gordon Pang, and in my day job, I'm the Housing Information Officer for Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation. And once a month, I get to be the governor's representative to your neighborhood board. So I'm here to present a report, except that you folks didn't give me any homework assignments at the last meeting. And you folks already have Governor Green's February newsletter. I don't have too much to present to you, but being a good local boy, I was taught to never go to someone's house without any presents. So I will put on my HHFTC hat and share with you two things regarding my favorite topic and yours, affordable housing. Last Friday, Governor Green signed his 5th emergency proclamation tied to the housing emergency. And I am putting that in the chat right now. There you go. As alluded to by Dave Nakamura at Mutual Housing earlier this evening, among the biggest changes in the latest emergency proclamation is that duties assigned to the governor's Build Beyond Barriers working group have now been transitioned to HHFDC, my agency. The governor and other state officials believe the exemptions and waivers that were being processed by the BBB group could be done more smoothly and effectively through HHFDC, since the governor's initiative is very similar to other programs already under our purview. That's number one. Number two, closer to home. Just this afternoon, we learned of some big news involving the development of the so-called northwest corner property at Farrington Highway and Fort Barrett Road, the property just Mackay of Walmart. I'll have more to share with you about this topic at next month's MakakiloKapoleiHonokai Hale neighborhood board meeting. And yes, there will be many opportunities for the community to learn more and offer feedback with both at the state and city levels. And with that, I invite you to offer any questions you may have for the Office of the Governor.
Thank you very much for your presentation and my condolences on the new workload. Okay. Any questions or comments from fellow board members? Any questions or concerns or comments for the governor's office from the community at large? Hearing none, we are not adding to your workload again. So this wasn't us. So we look forward to having you next month as well. Thank you, Uncle Gordon. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see if Highways Division is with us this evening. No, I actually think, oh yeah, right there you go.
Good evening, Chair Parrish and members of the board. Thank you. This is Henry Kennedy reporting for Department of Transportation Highways Division. My understanding is you wanted some information on the latest Fort Barrett Road project. That's titled Fort Barrett Road Railroad Crossing and Lighting Improvements from Roosevelt Avenue to Farrington Highway.
Okay.
The scope of that project is the installation of new crossing signal at the railroad crossing, including providing new gates, flashers, protective rail, along with the controlling circuitry required for gates and flashers. We're also putting in new ties and ballast, new crossing concrete panels, reconstruction of the roadway and shared use path pavement to address drainage and provide smooth transition. And we're also installing a traffic signal and the railroad crossing signal controller closed circuit television cameras at Roosevelt Avenue intersection, and installation of highway and shared use path lighting. The project is expected to take 12 months to complete at a cost of $7 million. Unfortunately, right now, the project is hung up because the city has not approved the traffic signal plans. We're expecting their approval to come by March. And so the project will start in March and it'll finish next March. Any questions?
Thank you very much for the enlightening presentation. We were all wondering what was going on over there, particularly with the holdup. But we now understand that the traffic signaling concerns are with the city and that you guys are making it awesome for us to be able to have our rail carts go by there and protect the keiki when they're crossing. Got it. Thank you so much. Any questions or concerns from the community or the board? Chair recognizes Transportation Chair McFerrera.
So the issue you have with the city, I take it that's with DTS?
I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but
We do it.
yeah, there's one person that does all the traffic signal reviews, and it's stuck with him.
No, I understand they're probably understaffed the same way some of us at the state level are.
Right.
So I'm not, looking for heads or anything like that. I'm just trying to get some perspective.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Thank you very much for the enlightening presentation again, and appreciate you being here with us this evening. Mahalo.
Thank you.
Okay. Now let's see if Senator Gabbard's representative is on.
Yes. So aloha Chair, Vice Chair, and honorable board member and community members. I'm Nanook Dennis, Senator Gabbard's community liaison. And the senator sends his best wishes to you in your ohana and invites you to his March Listen Story community meeting, which will be Saturday, March 30th from 9 to 10 a.m. at the Kapolei High School Teachers Lounge. You can also join via Zoom, and you can email sendgabbard at capital.hawaii.gov for the link to the meeting. And I'll drop that information in the chat. On January 26, 2024, his AEN committee, along with 2 other Senate committees and 3 House committees, held a joint informational briefing at the state capitol about the status of invasive species, which has been declared by the Hawaii Invasive Species Councils to be the single greatest threat to Hawaii's economy, natural environment, and the health and lifestyle of Hawaii's people and visitors. We finished our first big hurdle after bill introduction. So as of February 12th, 1,293 House bills and 1,385 Senate bills have been introduced for a total of 2,678. Senator Gabbard personally introduced 70 bills, of which half have passed out of their respective committees so far. Out of 183 bills referred to his AEN committee, he heard and passed about 110. I'll also drop the link to Senator's February's newsletter in the chat. And please continue to reach out to the senator if he can help you in any way. And I'll drop that email in the chat if you guys want to reach out to the senator. And on that note, I'm happy to bring back any questions to the senators. Mahalo.
Thank you very much for being with us this evening, Nanook. Is there any questions or comments from the board? Any questions, comments from the community at large? Seeing none, thank you for the good work that Senator and all of you staffers are doing for us at the state legislature. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Let's go to now State Senator Miley Shimabukuro or her representative if Patrice is available. Hey, aloha, Patrice.
Office. I just shared a little while ago the newsletter and the chat. I don't have a report tonight, but I'm here to answer any questions or take back any questions if anybody has any.
Patrice is Makana.
Hi.
Do you know when the luau is for Senator?
No,
Miley
we haven't planned that yet, but I will definitely let you guys know.
Okay, let's just check it.
Yes, I will let you guys know when that is.
Okay, any questions, comments for Senator Shimabukuro's office? Seeing none, thank you very much, Patrice, and for the good work that you all are doing.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Well, at this time, we'd like to welcome up Honorable Representative Diamond Garcia.
Well, Chair, board members, community, good evening. Today was the last day of our 5-day recess. And starting tomorrow and Friday, we're back on the floor for long floor sessions for third reading bills. So we're wrapping up the first half of our session, and then we'll hit crossover and it all happens again with the opposite chambers bills. So here's my newsletter. There's 2 sets. One is a letter we received from the governor earlier this month, releasing $300,000 for the Special Olympics Center near the Kroc Center that recently opened up. This will go towards improvements and maintenance for their sports and wellness center facility. Also want to congratulate the KCDC for the grand opening last month of Ho'omaka Marketplace. On the corner there, there's a Chick-fil-A Hale gas station, and the proceeds and benefits will go right back to the homesteads, which is a great thing. Wanted to bring your attention to page 2, some controversial legislation that's currently going through the legislature. As I said, tomorrow and Friday and next week, Tuesday, is the final days of voting in the House. So lots of the controversial bills will be heard and debated these last 3 days. So if you want to stop by the Capitol, we're going to be in session tomorrow and Friday at noon, next Tuesday at 10 a.m. And there'll be some long floor sessions. So that's that. And I'm open for any questions. Oh, and then also lastly, one thing. I went to the VOCA, the Villages of Kapolei Association meeting a couple months ago, and someone had reported that there's over 30 missing street signs throughout the Villages of Kapolei. Perhaps some have fallen over the years, they've just never been replaced. It's hard because in most instances, the city and county handles it. But because VOCA is still under HHFDC, that's been a problem. So we've been working with HHFDC and they finally ordered the signs, and there's a plan to have them I guess, and not implemented, but installed throughout the month of April. So that's upcoming. Other than that, I'm open for questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Representative, for the report back and the good news for the Kroc Center and for VOCA Science. Any questions or comments from fellow board members? Chair recognizes Secretary Michaela Livingston.
I'll go before Patrick Watson because he might be saying something similar to me. I went to Representative Garcia's town hall yesterday and it was wonderful. If the board ever gets a chance to go to one of Representative Garcia's town halls, I hope you do. It was just a great showing of community. There was a really good turnout. Just the discussion and the report was wonderful. And so it's good to hear that you're going to have them quarterly. And thank you for holding that. Having town halls is such a great community engagement, thing for our community. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. Any other board members? Chair recognizes Committee Member Patrick Watson.
Mahalo, Chair. And as Board Member Linstone pointed out, yes, I was there at the meeting. Very nice to meet you too at that meeting. That was awesome. But thank you so much, Rep Garcia, for all your hard work. And thanks to that meeting, you alerted me to the 2 House bills that were going on today for a vote. I was able to comment on those, and I was going to ask if you might be able to elaborate a little bit about House Bill 2079. that was one that was very concerning to me. And could you kind of just maybe give us some information about that bill?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Watson. HB 2079 was just passed through the House JUD Committee today, the Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs Committee. Unamended, that bill basically relaxes the requirements for physicians to prescribe controlled substances for minors as they undergo gender affirming care. And that includes gender reassignment surgery for minors. That includes hormone blockers for minors, and the bill does not give a age foundation. So a minor is a minor, and there's been instances where kids have transitioned their genders as early as starting at 5 years old, and so there's lots of concern around that. There was lots of people who showed up to oppose that bill today. Unfortunately, it did pass, but not only does the bill target children, my concern is it threatens parents. And so it gets involved with parental custody. If parents say no to their children undergoing these types of treatments, they'll be subject to their custody being threatened and going through family court. So that's the bill.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Community Patrick Watson and Representative Diamond Garcia. Any other questions or comments for the Honorable Representative? Hearing none, thank you again for your service to our community. Appreciate it. Okay, now let's move on to Representative Kalani Souza, if she's online with us, or a representative.
She was online earlier. She dropped a short update in the chat. I'll make sure it's reflected in the minutes.
Awesome. We recognize that she was earlier and we're running later than usual, being 20 minutes to 10, which is our end time. Okay, State Representative Darius Keela, is he here with us this evening, or representative? Seeing none, we're moving forward. Is Francine Mary with HCDA here with us this evening? Okay, great. Here, seeing none. Any state or city representative that did not present that's online? Now's your time. Okay, great. Now let's move to community and board concerns and announcements. Board members, any announcements or concerns to bring to community's attention? Just reminding everyone that we still have a resolution to discuss. Seeing none, let's go to the community on their announcements. And let's start with Ulukwa, Don Salan.
Thank you, Chair. Announcement on March 16, 10 a.m. We'll be having a Malama Day at our Endangered Plant Sanctuary. If anybody's interested, just get a hold of me. We'll tell you where and when. The Kohio parade is going to be later on in the day, 5 p.m. So plenty time to Malama and then enjoy the parade, shower, and before that. And then the other thing is that we've been trying to get a hold of UH West Oahu and the FestPac organizers, because UH West Oahu is going to be involved in that. And whichever groups are coming to Kapolei, it would have been nice to kind of host them and let the Kapolei area get to meet them and interact with them. But just for the record, the FestPac organizers have been very communicative, yeah. So that's that. But if we do get a hold of them, we'll let you know. Mahalo, that's all.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now let's go to Uncle Tony Gaston from Hunt.
Great. Good evening, everybody. Tony Gaston with the Hunt Company. And first off, I want to say I'm glad you guys liked what Henry told you, because he's an old college classmate of mine. And after the last meeting, I said, "Hey, bro, you got to answer some questions." And he said, "What?" I said, "Just tell him what's going on with the FDR widening." And he was telling me everything. I said, "Yeah, just tell him at this meeting." He's a great guy. We work a lot now together because he's one of the heads over there. So I have to do a lot of coordination with him. So every time we do work stuff, we always talk about the past, but anyway. Okay, real quick, I got a quick update for you guys because, well, first off, the VA clinic, if you remember, everything was turned over to the VA. So the Veterans Administration getting everything ready, they are still on target for their April 5th opening. So things are going good on that. But of course, in order to get into the VA, if you remember last month, I talked about those 2 roadways. So those are the only roadways that are going to be open to provide access for the VA clinic in and out. Everything else is still going to remain closed because of still some remedial measures that are going to be ongoing. The remedial measures, in talking with the construction team, are now going to be completed when the rest of Copenhagen is completed. The good thing is that I've been working diligently with the DOE, the state DOE, and they have finally drafted up the MOU. But now it's going through their approval process. We honestly wanted to begin the construction of this road in April. But we just hope that they are going to diligently push things through so that we can actually begin. And if we can get that going in April, by November, everything should be done. But with each month we lose the final completion. So that's my quick update.
Awesome.
Any questions? Yes.
Just a comment, another exemplary in community engagement. Totally.
Hey, honestly,
Thank you.
I have no problem coming here because it works both ways. Keeping you guys informed, I like doing that to help you guys understand too.
Okay, Uncle Moon.
Can you differentiate the clinic that you guys working on Roosevelt compared to the one by Walmart? Who does what and what can I do? I'm a veteran. I'm sure there's several veterans in here. So where can I get IDs or where can I get medical?
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know much about the one being built over by Walmart, but I do know that it's more residential. It's not necessarily even a clinic. Right.
Okay.
So the one that we are involved with is a clinic. That's how I can distinguish it for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, awesome. Any other questions or concerns, comments from the community at large?
Just a comment, to echo, Ulukoa Duhalinsad, on the FESPAC. I really do hope that they come, to present. I know Ulukoa, as a community member, was hoping that they would come to present. And I know they couldn't, but I really hope they do. I just wanted to jot that for the record.
Okay. Thank you, Uncle Tony. You're welcome. You appreciate the reports and updates from Hunt. Okay, any others?
Sorry,
Yes,
I
go
do,
ahead.
I do have one. I do know that Representative Kanani Souza is not here, and I'm disappointed because I do know that many community members, especially in the Mejana district, I know many representatives, many residents are concerned about crime and especially the smash and grabs. And I do know we have someone here from the Chamber of Commerce, and I don't know if she feels comfortable in talking a little bit about the smash and grabs and if she has any updates. I know as a Mejana resident, it has happened in our community and our representative has not addressed that with any of our community members, but it does scare many of our businesses. And I wonder if you have any.
You know, I don't have any updates from when you reached out to me, but I definitely think we need to be diligent about it. That's something that the more reporting and, and awareness about it. I don't know. One of the questions I had was whether there was multiple hits in that same area, because I know there was one shop. It was actually on the news too.
Yeah.
They did news coverage on it.
Do you know? Because
I don't remember the name of the business, but there's some multiple.
So that would be something else to touch base with Corporal Pagan about. I can reach out to him too, but yeah, I don't have any. It's it's something island wide, unfortunately, and we've gotten targeted in different areas here. But the more awareness, and I think a big thing that I've heard, at least on the news and media pushing, is for cameras, because the police can't catch these guys unless they have some kind of visual on their face. And that's, with the technology is out there, that's what really helps them catch them and identify who they are through facial recognition. So, but yeah, so yeah.
Thanks,
Okay.
Karen.
Thank you. Any final announcements or concerns from the board or community? Hearing none. Let's get to the board business for this evening. First off, approval of written summary for video record. Is there any objection from the board?
No.
Okay, hearing no objections, the chair calls it unanimous. Now let's go to the resolution before us on the.
Sorry, Chair, real quick, I just had a quick reminder for you guys. I don't know who's in charge of it, but if someone could check on the minutes for the special meeting you guys held in April of last year. The NCO is just trying to catch up on all the committee and special meeting minutes.
Okay,
Thanks.
appreciate it. Okay, we'll follow up with the special meetings from April. Now moving forward with the resolution as agendized, urging the beautification of the Makakilo quarry back wall with carved images of Hawaiian monarchs as a requirement for extending the life of the quarry by 15 years and other state special use permits. And the updated title, given community feedback so far on the resolution, is now urging the beautification of the Makakilo quarry wall with traditional Hawaiian carvings, more general, as a requirement for extending the life of the quarry by 15 years and other state special use permit Makakilo amendments. Let me clarify some of the resolve clauses so that we are all on the same page about what the resolution is doing. So let me.
Do you want me to project it for the people online?
Yeah, you can do the presentation, online projected, it's no problem. Given the time constraints, we will also make note that we recognize Very Specific as a long-standing community member that has done great work with our community on all types of things. And that this resolution is our attempt to try and start with legacy planning for the quarry as an asset, not just under the kuleana of Very Specific, but also potentially something that could be of benefit for generations to come. So going down to the resolve clauses, the whereas clauses really just mention how it looks ugly and that it could be beautified. So let's get to the resolve clauses. The first resolve clause reemphasizes that we would like it to be beautified with Hawaiian carvings. Second resolve clause is the board requesting the Honolulu Planning Commission and/or NAN Inc. and Grace Pacific to voluntarily agree to establish as a condition of approval of the permit amendments that Grace Pacific or NAN Inc. will beautify the quarry wall with traditional Hawaiian carvings prior to the quarry closing or by the end of 2047 at the latest. Moving down, the second resolve clause, that the carvings on the Makakilo quarry wall be large enough in size that details can be seen from the Kapolei area as far away as homestead communities of Kanahili, Maluahai, and Kaupe'a. And there's another Native Hawaiian homestead community in the area that we didn't mention and we'll put in administratively. Third resolve clause, since the carvings will show one or more Hawaiian monarchs or other traditional Hawaiian figures or imagery recommended by those homestead communities. So recognizing the specialness and that the legacy host culture people that understand this best would be in those homestead communities, we wanted to consult them to make sure that it's representative of the AINA that we are in. And also consultation with Department of Hawaiian Homelands. The fourth resolve clause is calling for any necessary reasonable studies to be undertaken to determine how best to do this, because we know this is a huge undertaking. Think Mount Rushmore, how they did that. We can't YouTube this. We don't even know how much it's going to cost. We don't know if this is astronomically bizarre or offhand, but we figure we start the conversation.
200 million.
Could be 200 million, can't be more than 200 million.
There it is, 200 million.
So we're asking that the studies be done so that we can have this conversation and that the studies be done or begun, not completed by January of next year. And the final resolve clause is basically to continue to loop in stakeholders, namely the board, every January board meeting, and the reports on the progress, whatever it is, on the trying to figure out the carvings and how it will be placed up and what the practical implications are yearly. So that is the gist of the resolutions, and there are some images that Dr. Dudley would like us to show so that people get a sense of what we're talking about, taking that flat face and turning it into an icon for our community. That's the most famous one that people know, Mount Rushmore. On the other side of that, there's also the Native American images as well. But there are a number of carvings that exist, different parts of the world. And the carvings could be elaborate as a monarch or could be as simple as a tapa print with like triangles or geometric mountain shapes that make sense for the area. Like, because we also recognize there's cost factors, right? And expertise factors and all types of factors that we have no idea. And that's why it's not in the resolution. And that's why we said we got to, like, talk story about this and for probably the next decade to figure out how this would work. And the last note I'll make is that the reason why my sense is it's going as a recommendation to the Planning Commission is because boards change. Yeah, and we need this to be recorded somewhere that there's going to be like a record and that is more solid. And that because we even know that even the state land use commission's like requirement that was mentioned earlier in the board's opinion with underground power lines in Ho'opili wasn't accomplished. But there's still greater legal standing for the community if a government agency also kind of recognizes the commitment, because we are an advisory board. That's all we can do is give our manao. So this is our conversation right now about the long-term legacy of what the quarry would be. Also, again, recognizing Grace Pacific has been an amazing community neighbor and supporter of community events. Okay, so with that, we will go now to any public testimony. Anyone from the public wishing to testify on this before we open up discussion for the board?
Should do a motion before any discussion.
Yep. Okay, chair recognizes Patrick Watson.
Mahalo, Chair. And yeah, I would like to just testify on behalf of support for this idea. I think it's a wonderful idea to try to beautify that area that currently doesn't look so pretty. But I would also encourage the board to also strive to get that issue with the emergency road settled as well. I mean, maybe as part of this, discussion we're having with Grace Pacific, Nanick, and everybody, because I think that's really critical, so we don't have another Lahaina on our hands. But as far as the carvings go, I would love to see that happen too. Mahalo.
Mahalo, thank you. Any other further public testimony on the item before us? Okay. Hearing no other public testimony is now finished, and we go to Dr. Dudley for the motion to approve the resolution.
I move to approve the resolution.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded by Dr. Dudley and by Hale for adopting the resolution as stipulated. Is there any discussion amongst the board members? Chair recognizes Mikiala Linso. Oh, first prerogative goes to the move on, Dr. Dudley, then Mikiala Linso.
I just want to say that, there could be the possibility of also getting Alexander and Baldwin involved since they were the owners during the time that most of the problem has been created. I don't think that's necessarily a part of the resolution, but it is a suggestion at any rate. Thank you.
Okay. if I'm hearing Dr. Dudley correct, that he's asking for an administrative change in the resolution to also name Alexander and Baldwin, so we can continue talking about them too as potential partners in this conversation. Okay, is there any objection to adding Alexander and Baldwin as named party in the resolution? Okay, hearing none, that amendment is approved. Okay, any other discussion? Chair goes to Tiare Tala after Michaela Linstone.
I have a great deal of respect for Dr. Dudley and his intentions here, but I don't think our monarchs would want, our ali'i would want their faces carved into a pu'u. I don't think it's a Hawaiian thing to do, to carve something into a pu'u. I think something more regenerative, planting something that would give life would be more honorable to a hill than to carve something into it. I think Pu'u Makakilo is giving and giving and giving and giving to our community right now. And when it's done giving, then it's time for it to just be. I don't think we should carve anything into it. And I don't think our ali'i would want their faces on it at all. But for it to be regenerative in a way where it just is, and maybe it's a place of ceremony, which it was, I believe, in the past, as a place for navigators and to kilo, maybe that is where it goes. But to carve, with all due respect, I don't think is something we should do to our pool.
Okay, thank you for the discussion point. Given the resolution is before us, understanding the objection to carving generally, also recognizing the carving of ali'i as paramount. For the sake of continuing the discussion, can the chair recommend that we strike carving of the ali'i at this time from the resolution to make the discussion continue?
Sure.
Okay, is there any objection for striking carving of the ali'i at this time?
Yes.
Okay, chair recognizes there's an objection and we will defer that amendment at this time and we'll go to Tiare Ta'ala.
My comment is somewhat in line with Mikiala's, and like first echoing great respect for Dr. Dudley. But then going to this idea of, trying to honor people, early, especially in the ways that I don't think they want to be honored. I'm a little concerned about the message that having these ali'i overlooking this entire highly developed area where we've had sacrificed so much for causes that I feel like in some cases go against our best interests, would like give this message like our ali'i approves of all this. Like this is what they wanted. This is their blessing for all of this. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to speak for, people who have gone before us, but it's a lot of the things that we've done to this aina are anti-aina. And I don't want to subterfuge all the teachings of our kupuna by putting their faces as if we go, okay, see, they like it, right? It's like HHL naming the mall Kamakalali'i, like, you know what I mean? That wasn't what they meant to give us, So I'm a little wary, and I'm also worried about like if it's gonna be another one of those like shiny object projects that they give us to like keep us busy and distracted away from the real work that needs to be done here. Like, oh, see, we did this thing for you guys, So don't ask us for anything else more or something like that. So that's just my concern. But I love the idea of like, I love Dr. Dudley's like heart to want to like have everyone be mindful of our host culture for sure. And I just wonder if there's a better way to do it. Mahalo.
Thank you. Recognizing Dr. Dudley wants to speak for a second time. Any of the board members wishing to speak for a first time first? Okay, chair recognizes board member Hale.
I think everybody's spirit is in the right place and their heart means well. What about a park? Something simple as a park. Makana made mention earlier, maybe an amphitheater, but I think Makakilo's already been bust up enough. That's my thought. Maybe a park, just grow grass. with trees and let the kids enjoy it for a change. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the board wishing to speak once first? Okay, Chair recognizes Board Member Dr. Dudley.
I just want to say that I think the way the resolution is written, there would be discussion and it would involve the homestead communities. And I don't think that at this point we should try to limit anything. It doesn't specifically say that it's going to be the royalty. It doesn't, it says royalty or other things. And I really, I wish that we could, it's terribly important to get this passed tonight because the meeting of the planning committee is March 6th. So, we really need to get it passed if we possibly can. So I'm willing to do just about anything, but I think if we really read the resolution, it's open to everything and that it says that it will be discussed and it specifically says it's going to involve the Hawaiian people in the discussion. And I think all that would take some years to accomplish and that we should leave it as, I really think the thing is written very well right now, and we should leave it as it is and leave open discussion for the future.
Thank you. Any other comments at this time? Seeing the sentiment from the introducer, Dr. Dudley, recognizing wanting to make the resolution palatable and recognizing that it's here in the spirit of us trying to have a conversation about the legacy of the quarry. Would the board be comfortable allowing the chair with checks from whoever you want, from the board members, say Mikiala or Tiare or both, to put in a resolve clause or language that specifies that this is a continuing conversation, but we also striking the li'i as carvings. We're not recognizing that it's a concept, but like Uncle Boone said, it could be actually we are looking at a park or an amphitheater. Because again, this conversation has been going on, but we can only properly have it at the board because we're barred by sunshine law by talking to each other, or even you all. So we might actually pass something and then set up a PIG, a permitted interaction group, to further the conversation about how we would resolve this. But hearing Dr. Dudley's concern, because we want to put this on the radar of the Planning Commission so that a city agency recognizes that the community would like a condition for the quarry to be one about legacy commitment, whatever that means. And maybe we need to work with the Grace Pacific and Nani, the property owners, in order to determine what would be feasible, from the fiscal side, and what partners, if the community is dreaming larger, we would need to get, including Alexander and Baldwin and others. Yeah. So having said that, the chair recommends allowing that language to be drafted for the continuing of the conversation, recognizing this is only the beginning, but also wanting to put it on the radar for the Planning Commission, that the board is recognizing that they want to have legacy input on the project end of the quarry.
So you are recommending a PIG?
I'm
not a
recommending.
resolution?
No, I'm recommending that we put into the resolution that we will continue this conversation through a PIG, because of the fact that the resolution needs to be done this evening so that it's on the radar of the Honolulu Planning Commission, that the community is in conversation about what the legacy would be.
We have the PIG.
Yeah, we do, but now that we're clarifying scope of the PIG to continue this conversation about what is the legacy project, because we already heard tonight, EV Park, maybe restore regenerative for the pu'u back as much as it can. We need to have this conversation, and we are already over time by 8 minutes.
Tiani has a question.
Okay, so Chair recognizes Tiale Tala. Oh, Chair recognizes Amy Bossler, member. Go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry, I was looking through our drive trying to find the resolution that we're talking about, and I was just wondering if Logan could put it up on the screen one more time just to go over the wording quickly before we vote. Because I also had concerns from when this was first brought up, just I agree with what all the other members of the committee are expressing. I just don't know if a carving is most appropriate use of the space, but I really like the idea of it being a healing place. And I just wanted to see what the wording was again, just to make sure it's. But I apologize, Chair. I will be quick with my reading so that we don't go further over time.
Further over time. I'm wondering if we just switch the focus to that. The issue of being working with to determine what is.
We have.
So let's switch the resolution to that.
Yeah, because in our resolution here, in the resolved, we are urging traditional Hawaiian carvings. And I think.
Yes, member Amy Bossler, Doctor, we also mentioned that we were going to move beyond the carvings, given the conversation currently, because Dr. Dudley, the introducer, indicated that he was open to that. So we're basically moving towards the concept of having a conversation regarding the legacy effects, but the pig will determine what that is with appropriate parties. So it's no longer about carvings alone. It's not necessarily just about a park or regenerative tourism plan or whatnot, but it's actually going back to our permitted interactive group, which needs to be retailored to the new owner, Nan Inc. So that we can have a conversation with them and let the planning commission know we want to have a conversation with them about legacy and project.
Okay, so this will go to the committee as is, and then we will have a separate pig just change, or I apologize, I'm not sure what the process is.
The pig exists. The first order of action is that we need to include Nan Inc. in the pig first. The second thing is this resolution is going to be tailored from wherever you see carvings is now going to be the recommendation of the pig.
Okay.
Because we already heard from our board members that we're not on the same page about what that would look like. It could end up being carvings, but again, because we're not having that conversation this evening and because of the time crunch, we just are signaling to the commission that we wanted to have a conversation with them, with ourselves regarding legacy and of the quarry as a potential condition. And we may find out in the next 2-3 months that that doesn't make any sense. And then we will go back and tell them, no, this not this, it's actually something else that we worked out and never mind. But because this is the only means by which we can have the conversation, we are having it now. And we have 2 minutes. So any other questions? The chair's recommendation then before the board is to wherever we talk about carving is to talk about the recommendation of the pig. Also in the amendment, I'm also recommending that Nani be named in the permitted interaction group that exists. Okay, Chair recognizes Dr. Dudley. Go right ahead.
Mr. Chair, again, the meeting is March 6th. We don't have any way that we can meet as a pig and come back to this group and do anything like that. I think that the resolution that needs to be presented on March 6th. I'm open to changing carvings to anything else, but I really don't want to exclude carvings because I feel this is a terribly ugly piece up there. If we don't move now, we're not going to be able to affect it. And just whatever we want to say about art piece or whatever you would find as the words to put in there would be fine with me. But I really think that if we don't vote on this tonight and get the resolution so that we can give the resolution to the Planning Commission, we're going to lose it. Thank you.
Awesome. So the chair's recommendation is still for the pig. So that we can have a conversation, whether or not it happens before March 6th. And simply we're signaling to the commission that we want the recommendation to be with the pig. And the pig also includes Grace Pacific and Nan Inc. So it should be agreeable to everybody.
Yeah. You get a vote.
Yeah. About what it actually is that we're going to end up with. If there's no other discussion, the chair will, again, the recommendation is that wherever carvings are, we're going to be the recommendation of the pig with the same timetable, everything else stays the same. And also add in the additional naming of Nan Inc. as a partner in the pig and the name of the left out homestead association. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the chair?
Accept the amendment.
Sorry, the amendment that is recommended by the chair. Okay. Board member Michael Singleton moved to accept the amendments of the chair, and second by board member Muka Hale. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say ole. Hearing none, chair calls it unanimous. Main motion as amended to beautify Makakilo Quarry at the recommendation of the pig, which is also now naming Nan Inc. to have a conversation, and that this be also a condition of the Planning Commission amendments to the Land Use Commission state permit. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say ole. Any abstentions? Hearing none, chair calls it unanimous. Okay, awesome. And with that, we are finished with tonight's business. You all can go home now.
Thank you.
Next month's meeting will be March 27th here at Hale, conference room A and B, and online via WebEx. Mahalo nui loa. You guys have a wonderful night. Meeting is adjourned.
Mahalo for staying so late.
Question.